Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Balkan Sis, the show that's going to help you navigate the massive challenges of life, motherhood, culture, identity, and belonging with more ease, acceptance, joy, and purpose. Thanks to each and every one of you that come back every time to listen, learn, heal, and feel inspired. If you do love the podcast, then do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. It really does help spread the word. Alrighty, so welcome back to another episode of Balkan Sis. I say this every single episode, and I think I'm going to just start embracing it. I'm so excited. That's just always my opening monologue about our guest today. Dobrodošli svima, wherever you're listening from. I've been wanting to have this woman on for a while now, and the day is finally here. I'm genuinely super stoked that she decided to come on, so thank you. My guest today left Zagreb, got on a plane, and landed in Iowa, not New York, not London, Iowa. And from there, she built a whole new life, found love across cultures, became a mama, started helping people understand why we are all so different and yet somehow so similar. She's a cross-cultural coach, a content creator, and honestly, one of the most interesting women I have come across online. And I say that in the best way. Because here's the thing that got me. Her husband is Chinese, Malaysian. And she's discovered that Balkan culture and Asian culture have more in common than anyone talks about. And when I heard that, I thought, okay, I need to know more. I'm intrigued. She's funny, she's real, she gets the in-between feeling that so many of us carry around every single day. And I think this conversation is going to feel like a warm hug and a therapy session all at the same time. Tamara, welcome to Balkan Sis. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hvala. Thank you.
Thank you for deciding to come on and saying yes. I was like, she's a really big star. I'm just a little fish in the fishbowl. And I was like, why would she want to come on my podcast? She's already got this beautiful platform that she's sharing her message on.
You got me at Croatian.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, I've got it. There's similarities there. I've got it. We both live in weird, odd places. You're in America. I'm in Australia. But before you obviously got to where you are now, I really want to take it back to the beginning, or as far as we can back to the beginning, which is Zagreb and roots and who you were as a little child. So yeah, take us back to Zagreb. Give me a smell, a sound, a memory, not the touristy version, but yeah, what was your family like? What was just understood growing up, but was never said? What was absorbed? Take us back to little Tamara.
So little Tamara, born in 85. So that would be still Yugoslavia. So communism that I don't remember much because it fell apart about 6 years into it. But growing up like that, I had memories of Dinar, a little bit about Yugoslavia, not that much. One of the strongest memories I have was, of course, the war that started, and then my dad going to the front and all of these different things happening and watching all these families get broken apart and all just hard stuff. And I remember, when I remember that, I actually remember it with fondness. And people think I'm crazy when I say that because they're like, oh, it's a freaking war. I said, you know what? It's a freaking war. But that war had very, very close things between my family. My dad would come from the war and bring this little jam things that only military gets, and we would put it on the bread and go, oh God, this is the best jam of our life. It was just a jam. It wasn't anything special. And then my mom would always wait for him, and we would play as kids in the park. And when the light turns on, you got to be home and all these different things. So the life was pretty, I would say we were pretty independent as kids, and we solved a lot of stuff as kids because parents were in their houses and we were just outside playing. So I think that's a great way to grow up, if you ask me. We never had adults meddling into our business. We just solved it. If you wanted to beat up somebody, you would. If you wanted to gang up on males, you would. There was not so many rules except when the light turns on, right? And then I finished elementary, and it's all in Zagreb. My elementary, my high school. In high school, I have a ecology degree. So I have a science degree. And then I went to fashion college, and I have a master's degree in fashion design, which is completely unrelated to what I do, but also related because you learn a lot about cultures and history and all these different things through it. First thing that I always loved about Zagreb is the sounds of bustling and trams and coffee drinking. And I always tell that to everybody. When I land in Croatia, the smell is just different. It's like the
Mhm.
air smells different. And nobody believed me until I started taking people from US to Croatia. They go,
Yeah.
it does smell different. I was like, yeah, it's the herbs in the air. It's all these different things happening in the air. So I miss the smell. I miss the food. Oh my God, the
Mm.
food. And I miss crazy, angry, grumpy, also very welcoming and more Croatian. I call them bipolar people because of that, because you never know what's going to come out that day. And I miss my grandparents. There's a lot of stuff to miss, but there's also a lot of
Mhm.
stuff not to miss. It's
Yeah.
like a both side, a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
right? But then after I think I ended all of that, let me think about it. I was 26. And at 26, that was my last year in Croatia, and that's when I moved out. But by that
Mhm.
time, I had a lot of friends. I finished a lot of stuff. I even had exhibitions and all these different things. And I decided, you know what? There's no job for me. I'm gonna head out right. And it definitely was. The plane was not U.S. Just to mind you too, so everybody knows the plane was actually Italy or UK or somewhere in Europe, maybe even Asia. But US was never ever on my radar to go
Mhm.
because I was like, I don't want to go there. But I
Yeah.
ended up there in beautiful Iowa. Huh.
Yeah. And life has a funny way of turning out, doesn't it? It's we have these wild expectations or maybe visions or what we think's going to happen, but there's always some sort of greater plan,
Yeah.
happening in the background. And definitely I can relate to what you said with the smell because I remember 10 years ago when I took my husband to Europe for the first time ever, first time leaving Australia. And it was like the smell, there was a very common smell in Zagreb, in Vienna, in all these cities. It was like
Mhm.
pastry. It was like the fresh morning. It was like the pastry and the
Yeah,
coffee. It
you
was a
cannot
different
describe
smell.
it.
I could smell the
Combo.
Milka chocolates. And yeah, it
Hmm.
was like I don't know, it was like smelling warmth, really, in a
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, also a lot of rubbish everywhere, but still. The smell was entirely different, and then landing here, it's a different sensation
It's
too.
a
So, like
different.
what you said, definitely smells can evoke that feeling and that memory. Now, you were leaving at a time where there wasn't much work in Croatia for people
Correct.
who were
Correct.
graduating, and I know that through my best friend and a lot of my cousins as well who live in Croatia and grew up there. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about that journey of then how you ended up in Iowa from Croatia at the age of 26.
So I was already preparing on my last year of master's. I was already looking into, okay, where can I go? Where can I move? So it's not like it came out of nowhere. And then I was doing, I can't remember, an assignment or whatever where I needed a pen and ink card or whatever. And I Googled this guy online. And he was one of the famous pen and ink artists in US. And I emailed him, hey, how do you do stuff? I need that for assignment. That guy became my first husband. And he's an American from Iowa. And we dated online for, I think it was 2 years. Honestly, I can't remember. It was such a long time ago. And then he proposed, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm moving to America. And then my mom was like, so this is a funny story because my mom was kind of like, okay, Tamara, you're moving to America. And I'm going to tell you that you're going to have issues with, you know, making friends there and people there. I was like, yeah, okay. And you're also going to have issues with finding a job. And I, of course, 26-year-old woman, I'm like, what are you talking about? I have a master's degree. There's no way I can see
Mm,
friends, but there's no way that it's a master's degree because in our country, that's like you are built for something,
yeah,
right? Actually, she was right on both areas. I came in and I realized a very harsh reality of things is that not only couldn't I make friends because I was so culturally different and also didn't understand their culture, I also couldn't find a job due to the fact that I'm an immigrant. So
yeah,
it took me, oh my God, I think about 5 years to get a job, which is a pretty long time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's how I
100%.
ended up, yeah, and that's how I ended up in Iowa because he was from Iowa. And Iowa is a pretty small, it's not a small state, but it's not as Chicago, but it's pretty close. It's for American terms, pretty close to 6 hours with the car people because Europeans think
Mhm.
it's 1 hour. But American terms, 6 hours is pretty close with the car. So it's not that far from Chicago, but it's still not Chicago. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah,
And it's
there's
a
like,
big deal. It's a big deal when you're coming from a capital city of
oh yeah,
anywhere in the
oh yeah.
world. If you would have come from a small village of Croatia somewhere, and then you went into another sort of little town,
Oh, yeah.
village place. And but it's because you came from such a melting pot of like any capital city of the world is going to have
Yeah,
so many different elements, so many different layers. And then you're
correct.
coming into a place like that's not like that.
That's got nothing. Okay, like funny story too. So we can laugh about this. So when I moved to Iowa, first of all, I thought it was the suburbs of Chicago. Crazy European because you think everything is close. And then I remember my sister coming in and she said, "Hey, just to kind of let you know, remember when we watched all those documentaries on tornadoes and stuff?" I said, "Yeah. Remember we used to laugh at those people? What idiot would live in this type of state? You're an idiot. Because Iowa is state of tornado."
You're like, I moved for love and opportunity. I don't care about the tornadoes. Can't be any worse than living
Oh
in
my
Zagreb
God.
with no job.
I didn't even make those connections until since then. I was like, oh my God, I did move into the state of tornadoes and we did make fun of those people. Now I'm one of those people.
It's because I think we've been brought up to believe, in a sense, that like my dad was very heavy set on even being refugees and not having much choice of where we were going. He was very hard set on not going to the US for a
Yeah.
lot of political reasons as well. He was like, that is not a place I would rather return to where I have nothing than go there. But I
Yeah.
think being a young person, everything we consume is westernized, is from
Oh,
the US, like
absolutely.
music,
Absolutely.
movies, whatever. So someone's giving you essentially a pass to come there, like via love and all that. And you're like, whoa, like bag full of opportunities. I'm going to
Correct.
make it
Yeah.
there. And that's, I think that naiveness to a degree protects you in so many ways,
It
that
does. It
naiveness.
does.
Because if you
And
truly sat down and put on
correct.
paper, we should never go anywhere. We should never move anywhere. We shouldn't even
Honestly,
have children.
correct. And if I had the age that I have today, with the wisdom that I have today when I was there, I don't think I would ever do this.
Yeah.
I would move out, but not to such a complete different culture where not only did I not understand even saying a hello, right? We're talking about complete differences. And Europeans are really smart people. They're very multicultural, but their perception of America is, of course, through movies and stuff. And they don't, including me. So we don't understand that America, when you actually live there, is a completely different story. So
Yeah.
we come in with this pink eyeglasses, America. Look at this, it's all in movies and stuff. But once you start living there and you realize how much racism is happening, how much discrimination, how they discriminate you all the time, what are their perceptions of people coming from our part of the world, right? And how they're dealing with it. You go, oh, I should stay in Europe because we don't judge like that because they're
Yeah.
completely different. And that's something you didn't expect. What I also didn't expect is that Americans are more conservative than Europeans. That is what people don't even know. They're
Yeah.
very conservative as people.
You look at
So,
Eurovision, and that's not conservative at all. You look at
no,
Eurovision, like I'm
no,
just saying, if you look at music and movies and
correct.
sounds and even tastes and herbs and food or anything like that, it's way more exotic. Even though we
Yep,
think it's, even
correct.
though we think going to church is traditional and growing up
Mhm.
Catholic and very conservative, we think that's conservative. But then you go to America or you come to a neighborhood in Australia and it's even way more conservative than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's conservatism in different ways, I believe. They look different in each place.
yeah, correct,
And
correct, absolutely.
when did someone first tell you that you were too much or too direct or too loud or too expressive? Like when was those first impressions happening? Was it happening in the
In
workplace? Was
one
it
hour
happening?
of landing. So
Yeah.
it
Nothing says
was
welcome
literally
like.
landed. It was like, welcome. And so I will never forget that day. So I was not only too much, too loud, too direct, too much of everything. They told me that I need to cut down with my directness because I'm too rude. And of course, I'm Balkan, okay? I'm Slavic Balkan. I come from the, as you would say, the mountain. And I go, what does that even mean? When you go, what? You just can't
Yeah.
take the truth. Like, it's completely different mentality, right?
But
And
also
it was,
the way you're delivering it is not your intention is
yeah,
not
you're
that.
not
So when
rude
someone's
about it.
telling you,
And that's something that I am actually going to talk about a lot online, directness versus rudeness, right? Those are two completely separate subjects, right? And
yeah,
a lot of times I've noticed people intertwine them. The minute you're direct, that means that you're automatically by default rude. Heck no, you are
yeah,
not rude. There, you can be direct and be very nice. Nice. Be very direct about it, but in a way that you're taking into consideration that a person across you and their feelings and whatnot, but still very directly say what you
yeah.
want to say, which doesn't happen in this culture. But
Mm.
this culture thinks the minute you speak that way that you're rude. And that was a shocker to me.
But also if
Right?
someone's asking you a question or trying to get information from you, or you have to answer something a certain way, or you are on a time crunch. I remember once when I was talking to a therapist, she's, wow, okay, she thought I had anxiety or something. She's like talking really fast. I'm like, that's because we have 1 hour.
Yeah,
It's expensive talking to you, first of all.
exactly.
It's costing between $250 and $300 without
Correct.
the
Just
rebate.
talk
And
to
then
you.
we're
Yeah.
only getting 60 minutes, and 15 minutes of that is a
And
warm
let me
up.
tell you,
Oh, you know what I'm trying to say? And then they're like, oh, wow, you're talking so
correct.
fast. I'm talking fast because we're on a time. I'm not talking
Time
fast because
constraint. Yeah.
there's, you know what I mean? It's in a way trying to make you feel like there's something wrong with you when there's actually nothing wrong with you.
There's
You're just,
nothing wrong.
it's about the intention, I believe.
Yeah.
It's always about intent. Am I speaking with the intent to actually really hurt someone's feelings, which most of the time you're not. It's the intent of, okay, you've asked me something, I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
older you get, the more direct you get. And that's something we talked about before. And I never used to be that direct, because I think when you first come somewhere, you're a little bit scared
Well,
to
you're
test the
testing the
limits.
water, you're testing the limit. You're like that little child that's learning things, right?
Yeah.
I was like you. Okay, I'm going to test this. Okay, this doesn't work. I'm going to do this. This doesn't work. And then what happens, and it happened to me, and this is one of the reasons why I do what I do, is you start shrinking yourself. You start losing yourself. You start shrinking yourself. You start losing your identity. And then as a woman, that's even easier to lose. And then you become a mom. Then you have double identity loss. I went through a phase where I was like, who am I right now? Because there's so many things that happen. And like you said, I went to a therapist too. And I will never forget that day. I was like, I can't go to a therapist here because whatever it is, my culture, they're red flagging it. They don't understand that is not mean. That is not something that is, yeah, in this culture is not okay. But if we're taking into consideration where I'm coming from, that is not a red flag. So I always tell people, if you're going to do therapy and you're not from that culture, make sure you find a therapist that's from your culture or
Yes.
something that knows these
Yes,
different
because
cultures.
there's cultural nuances that
Yeah.
are very important. And if you're working with someone who doesn't know that, who's never lived that or been around that, how's that? It's very difficult to get ahead.
Correct.
But like what you said, you start to shrink yourself. I remember when we actually funnily enough, the image came of when we had the eggs for Easter, and we had this like this shrink wrap, like this picture you put on the egg with hot water, and then it
Yeah.
shrinks around the egg. And that's quite literally what we were doing when we came. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
don't ruffle feathers, don't complain to your teacher,
Correct.
don't complain, don't be mean to other children, don't basically just be quiet, don't talk, don't make noise, don't test the
Correct.
limits, because A, like maybe you can get deported, or B, like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
scared just in general. You're scared in general because you don't know if, oh my God, doce polizia. You know, like,
Yeah.
I remember saying to my dad, I started mustering up more courage because I was a teenager, preteen. I came here by 16. I was like, oh, Dad, I can call the police on you. And he was just like, oh, no, hell you won't, because you
Yep.
won't even be here to
Yep.
make the phone call. But I just remember being like, yeah, imam tu prava. I have rights here. I have rights.
Oh,
My
yeah,
kid
yeah,
ran
yeah,
away
yeah.
from home. She's getting social security payments. She's living so well. Like, you
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah, the
and it's like
teenage.
the more you're somewhere like for longer and longer, the more you get confident to voice who
Correct.
you. But at the beginning, I believe it's so hard, and I think people
But
undermine how long it takes.
I think it's also very different for women and males, because males usually, and that's what I've noticed too, and listening to my husband's story, they don't shrink themselves. Why? Because the society does not expect them to shrink themselves. But when you're a woman coming from one culture to another culture, the expectation is to be quiet more than it is to a male. And I think that is a huge issue. And we women have a tendency to do that anyway, just for the peace, whatever. And especially if you're scared and like you and me, you have a tendency to just constantly do this. While for males coming here, they just accepted the way they are most of the time.
Yeah,
So
100%. And that being a male in every single culture is, I think, virtually the same. Like
yeah,
you could go into American culture, into European culture, any culture, and Asian
yeah,
culture, you're just a guy. So it's celebrated that you're ambitious, that you're loud, that you're
yeah.
talkative, that,
hmm
oh, vidga jest vesel. Like a
Yep.
guy who's really lively and arrogant. Oh, look at him. He's so friendly. He's so
Yep. The
whatever.
same.
But
It's the
when a
same.
woman
Yeah.
is, being a certain way and being a tad too loud
Then
for,
she's
for
the
her
B
own
word.
good, then there's problems. Yeah, she doesn't come from a
Yeah.
good family. And I think it takes so long, and I noticed that now being here 27 years, there was a lot of foreigners who came. There were families who had engineers. The men were engineers, Australia seeking certain skilled trades. One was Romanian family who came just down the road from us. I met them through my son's school. And then there was a Finnish family from Finland as well. They moved to Spain, then came here. So there was a lot of different melting pots of cultures, and I met them. So I connected these people together because they were also all talking the same language. Anyway, and
Yeah.
I remember they were having issues at school about the children not getting English support. And I was like, that's a problem. And one of the teachers walked past on the first day. She said, how's everything going? I was like, yeah, shit. And I told her, like, this is not even for my child. It was for their children. And they're like, oh, no,
Yeah.
Ivana, don't worry about it. It's all right. It's all right. I go, it's not all right. These kids are
It's
literally
not.
pissing their pants because they don't know how to say, I need to go to the toilet. They're
Yep.
like, oh, English support is only provided from year 1 onwards, like Prvirazred onwards. Not because here in where we live, we have prep year, which is the year before year 1,
Yeah.
preparation
They
year,
have
but it's
that.
still
They
school.
call that
You know,
push here. Yeah.
that's right. So they were like, oh, we don't provide English support for that. And I said, well, that's bullshit. These poor kids are like falling through the cracks.
I
Right?
mean,
They're like, oh, well.
even if you don't provide support like that, you still need to learn how to communicate with them.
And
Pictures,
oh, well,
signs,
they're like getting
symbols.
into trouble for different reasons. And then they're complaining to them. Then they're telling their parents, make sure you only speak English to them at home. There were so many wrong things
Oh
that were
yeah,
happening.
no.
And I could see the pattern being repeated to what was repeated with me 27 years ago. And I was like, holy shit, there's been zero progression in schools in the last 27 years. So, of
Oh
course, I
yeah,
fight.
we can talk about American schools like that too. I'm in
So, yeah.
education and
Yeah.
yeah.
I got fired right up, and obviously I advocated for them. I advocated for the mums, advocated for the children. Even though they didn't necessarily know what they needed, what they were asking, I knew. I knew because I was that child when I came,
Yeah.
right? I don't want any kid to experience that. So then I got them the support they needed. And one of the teachers said, oh, there's a lot of students in the school. There's 700 children. And I said, and what, they're all foreigners? And she
Yeah.
just shut up. And I was like, fuck off. Give these kids the support they need. Got a teacher. She's only got 3-4 kids every week. Come on. It's the minute they have to do more work than what's
They don't
required.
wanna, yeah.
It's, oh, there's short staffage, like not enough staff. And it's like, I'll fucking come and teach these kids, man. I'll come once a week.
Yeah.
So that's where I had that, I was that voice for them. But I was so surprised that even after almost 30 years of being in this country, that the same thing was happening again. But how do you, like we talk about the food and the places and the feeling and the unspoken warmth and all these things, the culture that we come from. How do you assimilate without losing parts of yourself? What does assimilation actually look like when you refuse to disappear? So we talked about shrinking yourself and being quiet and silent. Then you realize that doesn't really work either because you're depressed. So then what's that assimilation look like?
The reason why I do that on my Instagram is because of the experience I had of losing myself. And then it took me a really long time to regain myself, right? To regain my identity, my culture, just myself as a human, right? And how do you assimilate without losing yourself? That is a really good question. And I will give you my 2 cents on it. First of all, adjust to extent, right? And I always say adjust to extent means you're learning the culture, you're translating the culture, but in a way that you don't lose your identity. How does that look like? Let's take for an example when you're trying to say something direct, but you're in indirect culture, which will be Australia and America, right? In America, you will say, instead of saying no to something, they will say, let's circle back. Oh, I don't think that was good, but blah, 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 right? And I always tell people you can definitely do that with your own language and your own directness. And they always look at me like, are you crazy? How do you do that? I said, yeah, I said this to them. I said, I don't think I like that, but good for you. And you're still staying in that constraints, that indirectness, but you're bringing in your own directness in there. You're still speaking your mind. You're still doing what you need to do, but you're assimilating that on top of it and mixing it all in to express yourself and still be respectful in the culture that you're living.
But you're not
Because, I
selling
mean,
out completely.
you're
Like,
not
you're
selling out your parts of yourself. Also, one other thing that is really important is always try to surround yourself with immigrants. It doesn't need to be an immigrant from your own culture. It can be immigrant that's from Syria. It can be immigrant that's from China. It doesn't matter. Why? Because they have the same experience as you do. So culture really doesn't matter there. What matters is the experience. So if something happens, we all support each other because we know how it is to be without support, without acknowledgement, without our voices. So when you have, let's say, somebody from China, even though you don't speak Chinese and they don't speak your language, the connection is instant. And why? Because we can understand each other's pain. And once you have somebody that understands that pain, you start not losing yourself because you have that support there. You don't feel so lonely anymore and like you're going to go crazy because nobody drinks coffee with you for 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah, of course. And there's And I think that's where language becomes really important. But how do you develop that language? It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg, like the confidence and the language, the confidence to say that and to express. It's also if you don't have English language developed, which we didn't when we came here, we fled and then we were in Germany and we didn't know German. We'd had to learn
Hmm.
German. So then we came here with German, which basically meant nothing. Came here with
Nothing,
Croatian, which meant nothing. No one even talked Croatian. None of the Croatian community even talked Croatian. They all talked English. So it was like none of us knew English, so we had to learn English again. Then we went to schools like you got to learn French and Japanese. You're like, what the fuck? I don't even know how to talk English.
Mhm.
How was it at school? Yeah, great. What'd you learn? Oh, I learned Japanese. Japanese? What the fuck is happening? You're learning Japanese. But that's the English. I'm like, I know. What do you want me to do? So they basically
We're
like,
learning Japanese.
so then my mum complained in broken English and they said if she doesn't like it, she can sit outside by herself and
Oh
read a
my
book,
God.
or
Okay.
she can sit in the classroom, right? So guess what? Even I was a mad Japanese talker, I knew how to talk better Japanese than English because
Oh,
I had
absolutely.
symbols.
You will know
It
how to
was,
talk Japanese as a
but that's
Croatian.
that's the thing. Like you would have already probably known a bit of English being in Zagreb and being in Croatia, like it was being
Oh,
taught in.
absolutely. We are all
But
actually, I
also
read
different levels of English, though, Tamara. Different levels of English. Because
correct.
just because you know English from school doesn't mean you know what
Doesn't
that'll
mean you
to.
actually speak their English. That's what I've learned. Even though you learn English in school, and mind you, they just had a statistic came out. Croatia is actually number one in the best speaking English in the entire Europe, which is
Mm,
crazy to me. I was like, I didn't even know that. But even though I came in with my mom made me test it because you need a degree in English, whatever, test it. It doesn't mean anything, but she just wanted to make safe. I came in, mind you, with C1 level English. That's insane level of English. I
mm,
still couldn't adapt to their English. Why? Because first of all, we learn British English. We don't learn American English, which is a
mm.
completely different set of rules. Second of all, the only English you hear is through the movies, but you don't use it on a daily basis, which means I only know book English and English that was taught in classroom, which is not the same as English spoken on the streets or whatever. So even though your English level might be great, you still don't know English.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends where you are in America too, because English, if you're in New York, it has a different swag or a different
Oh
twang.
yeah,
If you're in
absolutely. They got
Chicago, if you're here,
slangs.
if you're
Yeah.
there, like even in
Hmm.
Australia, if you're in the western suburbs of, like, I know a lot of my family who live in the western suburbs of Sydney, which is cultural melting pots of Lebanese, Asian, Croatian, whatever. And a lot of them don't even talk English still till this day, 30 years on, because they
Yep.
actually don't
Yep.
need to, because
Same.
everything
Same
they
in
need is
U.S.
in
and like
Croatian. Yeah.
big pots. Yeah.
Whereas here, it's a lot more laid back. Like the English we use here is very different. So it also
Hmm.
depends where you move to, what city, what town. Is it a capital?
Correct.
Is it not?
Correct.
Because they use different words, like different
Correct.
little
Hmm.
nuances. So 100%, like what you said, it wouldn't have even mattered how much you were exposed to the
It
culture and the
does not.
language. You would have gone through like an American combat training and it still wouldn't have prepared you. You
It
still would have
still would
gone.
not. No, no, it would not
And do you
matter
think it
what
was
one bit.
wild as well because you are white and we are white? But inside we're so foreign and so different. Do you think as well that casts a judgment because people look at you and they're like, oh, you look like me, or we look the same, or we look similar? It's very interesting because I remember my sister at her job. There's a quite a big Polynesian community here in Australia because of the proximity as well,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
islands we have. And New Zealanders, Samoans, Tongans, they do these big hookups with their family. And I remember my sister told me she was at work and one of the workers said, oh, we do this in our culture. We do big hookups. And she was in a way educating my sister, who's white and green eyed, and like
Correct.
assuming my sister doesn't have a culture because she is white. Whereas
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
sister's been brought up foreign as, like eating sujuka, like garlic,
Yeah.
full on foreign. But it's just interesting how other people view us because of that.
Correct. And I always say my skin color is a double win. Why?
Mm.
Because Americans know I'm not American and they discriminate me on my whiteness. And I kind of had a reel about that. And then if they're a different race, then they discriminate me like I'm an American, like I don't belong, I know nothing, I was never discriminated. So basically, you're in between that because on one side, you have white Americans who completely cannot accept you and they're completely discriminating you. And then on the other side, you feel like other races will accept you, but you don't because you look like a white American to them, which we don't even look physically like each other. We can totally recognize who's from Germany, who's from US, who's what. And then you in between go, okay, I can't be friends with these people because they're prejudiced just because of my skin color. I can't be friends with these people because they're prejudiced of where I'm actually coming from. So again, you're that lonely little wolf that basically is losing on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I always say the importance of having immigrant friends that kind of can understand those concepts. But yeah, that was a really harsh reality, realizing that not only do different races don't accept you now, even the white race won't accept you.
Yeah. Oh, that's yeah. Essentially, you come from a place where you're someone and you're well
Yeah.
respected or well liked, or your families, or I don't know. It's you're with your own people. You don't have to describe who you are. You don't. You just are.
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
then you go somewhere else and you're no one.
Yeah. You're
And
absolutely no one. Yeah.
and you have to become someone, but you already
Yeah.
are someone. But that
You
someone
already
is
came in
not.
with a lot of stuff behind you. And then basically it's like I was telling my family that I come in with high degrees, a lot of achievements. I was not unknown. I've done a lot. And then I come here and it's like you're stripped away from all of your achievements. Not only does your achievements not matter, your degrees don't matter, your background doesn't matter. If anything, your background, at least in US, is horrible. If they found out you're Slavic and Balkan, that is, if you speak and they hear the accent, oh my God, the crap you're going to get in your face because you're white, it's insane, right? So you're like stripped of everything, every achievement, your whole identity. And then you're going like, okay, okay, what do I do now? Now I got to rebuild myself, which
Yeah.
is
Oh,
really difficult.
100%. And I think people either end up being intrigued or horrified. Like, I think it's
Yep.
such a mixed bag because my sister, she used to say, poor thing, till this day. Like, even her daughter's, Mom, that's not how you say it. Because Aussie accent is very specific.
It is.
It's when we say Coke, like for Coca-Cola, like Coke, it's the ooh. And my sister's like, Coke. Actually, it's cool. And I'm like, Antonia, Coke. And and she just couldn't. She couldn't.
Couldn't say it. Yeah.
Because her and my brother were older. They were like already 16 and 17. So they only had about a year or year and a half in high school, whereas I was a preteen and had 1 year in elementary
Mhm.
school, which is primary school. And then I was heading off into high school. So I worked very hard on losing my accent. When my husband actually met me, I was a preteen. We met at a wedding and stuff. I had a very thick accent, very thick. And he's, I miss your accent. And I was just like, ugh, because it was just gross in this setting. I stood out. And when you're a child, you don't want to stand out. So
Oh, absolutely. No. Yeah.
I made it my mission daily to sound like them. I worked on my
Mhm.
sounds. And like now when I talk to speech pathologists, they're like, oh, you did a degree on yourself. And I was like,
That
see,
and
I don't even need to
it's
go
the
to
same with
uni.
me. 15 years in America, I saw an American where Americans, if I actually speak to Americans, they can still hear that I'm not an American. But non-Americans cannot differentiate where the heck am I from. And I think that's very interesting. And I wasn't even practicing that hard. I just started picking it up because I socialized with them so much that it just became natural.
But it's also survival.
It's
Like, it's also
absolutely a
survival because
survival because you want to fit
you
in.
start to mimic. You start to
Yeah.
mimic and
Oh,
you start to
absolutely. Yeah.
pick
Because you
up
want
on
to fit
social
in.
cues. Yeah, you don't
Mhm.
want to be the
Yeah.
odd one out because
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
we're social creatures. We're mammals. We want to fit in. We want to be in the
Correct.
pack. We want to be. And then here you are coming with this thick accent. And then the people used to be like, "Oh, what's your name?" I'm like, "Ivana." They're like, "Oh, Ivanka Trump." And I'm like, "No, but if that's how you're associating me, great." They're like, "Oh, Ivanka Trump." And I was like, "Yeah, I wish I had her money." It was just people just, I
Yeah.
don't know. It was like they were just trying to associate with, they're like, Ivy? Is it Ivy? And I'm like, no,
Oh, yeah.
Ivana. And they're like, Evie, Ivy, Iva. And my last name, don't even get me started on the last name. What, yeah, I had
Oh,
people
yeah.
saying to me, do those letters belong together? Are you sure? I had a lady on the phone at the bank. I'm like, STRBAC. She goes, do those letters actually belong together? I
Because
was
there's
like,
no vowel. Yeah.
I was like, yeah. She's just, how are you sure? She's asking me, am I sure? I'm like, do you think I'm a scammer or something? I don't even have a bunch of cash in there. Just fucking give me access. But it was just wild that there's people questioning me for being me.
Yep.
You're
I
not
had those
questioning
questions.
them, Karen or Jessica or Smith or Tom. Might as well say, oh, Dave. And I'm like, which Dave? They're all Daves and
They're all
Matthews and
Daves. Yeah.
Michaels. And he's, no, babe, they're not the same. I'm like, it's the same. They all sound the same to me. So I guess when I look at all of them, they're all the same to me. So I guess when they look at us, they're like, oh, they just paint us with the same brush
Yep.
as well.
Yep. Same. Yeah.
But I can relate to everything that you're saying. But how did this impact your first marriage? Because that would have been quite a lot of pressure on the relationship for the person who's essentially born and bred there, and then this foreigner coming in. And then how does that
Correct.
impact one's relationship? And I don't just mean in marriage, in
In
general, whoever
general,
you're living with.
it impacts it a lot, especially, let's say, in-laws. Okay. I'm going to give you a story. First time they were coming to Croatia, they asked us, oh, do you guys wear jeans? Do you have electricity? Do you have a hair dryer? And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Where the heck do you think you're going? It's freaking Europe. Tesla invented electricity from our country and stuff like that. So how did that impact my marriage is literally like that. I was always an outsider that was never accepted because my conversation style was different. Me and my ex-husband couldn't find middle ground because our cultures were way too different, way too different. He was very American, individualistic, didn't care about family, kind of coming together only on holidays. Even their together is not like our together is. And they're not as, let's call that passionate as us. Like
Expressive.
expressive as us. And so to them, we look very too much.
Mad.
So mad all the time, which we're not. I always say to people, if I look mad, 100% I'm not. If I look frustrated, I guarantee you I'm not. It's just probably my face looking like that because something annoyed me, but that doesn't mean it's,
But it means you care.
yeah,
It
it
means you
means
care.
totally you care. So it impacted that way, and it impacted in a sense that it didn't help that he was an artist, so they're a completely different ballgame there too. But when it comes to family, you literally, even though they say they accept you, they really don't. So every time you would speak something, they would be like, they would kind of look at you. And even if, let's say, I bring my food is important to us. Food is everything to us, right? So I would bring my food for them to try, and I don't know how to describe it. There's little.
Like my big fat Greek wedding, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
When the in-laws of the
This
groom
is why
went,
this is one of my favorite movies because it literally describes how that looks like in America, right? People laugh at that movie, but that is an immigrant story there. That is literally my story is something like that because Greeks are very much like us. And then Americans are very well presented. They're like trying things, going, oh, I don't know, and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to watch that. And that doesn't make you feel good. And then eventually you just, and then he never understood that I'm in a constant survival mode either. I'm battling for my degrees. I'm battling for this. I'm battling for that. I'm battling for my paperwork. Everything is stressful to me. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get a job. He's from there. And mind you, I couldn't even have a bank account. I don't know how Australia is, but in America, when you move in, if you don't have prehistory or if you're not moving for college, you cannot have a bank account because you don't have a credit score. So I didn't want to combine income at that point because I was like, I want to have it separate. But then I had to because he had to vouch for me and be my observer on credit cards. And I was like, I had credit cards and I had bank accounts since I was freaking 6. I don't need a man like observing my spending or whatever. And I was really mad about that. It took me literally until 5 years ago to actually collect enough credit score. Can you believe that? And that's 10 years into it, right? And so that's what a lot of people don't understand. And that affects a lot of stuff when you live with a person that doesn't understand your process, that doesn't understand where you're coming from, what are your stressors, and they brush it off. And of course, you go, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
eventually.
you have to work that much harder at becoming someone or at being yourself or whatever, wherever you are, wherever you
Correct.
land. But you have
And
to
you know
work
when
that
you-
much harder to open up a bank account, to get a, like we have here, a Medicare card, which is like your healthcare card. You have to work that much harder for anything. People find it stressful just to change their last names legally, and let alone a whole new identity because you're essentially starting from scratch. And then also, I follow this couple, they moved to Italy and they were talking about bureaucracy in Italy. He's Sicilian, but they're from Sydney. And she said that you have to have an address there. Like no one will give you anything unless you have an address. But they're at an Airbnb because they haven't found a house yet. So they're house hunting. So they're not able to actually open up a bank account or do anything until they have an address, a physical address in which they live at.
Problem,
There's so many nuances, I think, that people don't bank on. And also a lot of the foreigners I met, those mums I was telling you about, they were like, oh, we didn't know schools like this here. We didn't know this is like this here. We didn't know that's like this. I'm like, you didn't go into fucking community pages and check? You got children, man. Like, you didn't do your due diligence? They're like, no, we just good lifestyle, nice weather, warm weather. I'm like, yeah, but there's shit everywhere. You know what I mean? What's the use of nice weather, 40 degrees outside when you're not happy with the school system? Because they're coming from Finland where there's one school system, then they come here. There's private schools, Catholic schools, colleges, public schools, all this stuff.
Exactly. And America's like that too. And you know how it is in Europe. Same school system. There's no hoods. There's no bad school, good school, private school, this school. It's all same system, right? And whatever school you go to, whatever neighborhood you're in, you're going to get the best education.
Yeah.
And then I moved here. I was like, okay, it's important. I have a house in this specific area that costs 3,000, three times as more just because the school is better. And that gives the opportunity for this. And then you're Googling online all these gradings for school. And I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is such a stressful thing to do. At least for me, it was probably for local people. They already know. So it's for them, it's not.
But
But
that's
when I
because
got
they've
my
been there their whole
son,
life. That's
oh
why.
yeah,
Because if you've
when I
been
got
somewhere
my
your whole
son,
life, it's easy.
oh yeah, when I got my son, I was like, okay, what school, what neighborhood, what this, what that. I got so stressed out. I was like, I don't even know how to work the system here. And then I don't know about you went through their school system. I never did. So my son right now is fifth grade, and I'm learning the school with him, which is very interesting because they're learning English. I'm like, how are you learning English? You're not even learning English. Like, how are these Americans learning English? Like, you're just like, you don't understand that because that's
I
not
still,
how our
if it
schools.
makes you feel better, I went through it and I still don't understand it because going through it with my son, I'm actually reliving a lot of traumatic experiences because I got picked on in high school. I got called, even in Germany, I went to school there for the first 4 years and it was like, you're an Ausland,
Oh,
you're a foreigner,
Auslander.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. So that was German. Oh my God, I would never want to
Germans
live
are
there.
crazy
I would
about that.
never
Yeah.
want to live there. I have a lot of German friends. I love them, but the Germans over there, very different. And I don't believe anything's changed. Then when I came here, people were quite intrigued, very friendly on the surface level.
Mhm.
Oh, Ivana, where are you from? Very cute. And I was just like, oh my God, what the fuck's happening? And now going through the schooling system with my son, when there's complaints, so I'm not, or something's happened and I'm flagging it, I've been told I've ruffled a few feathers in management. And I said, fucking good. Good, I've ruffled a few feathers in management. What are you guys doing, wellness officer? Who's writing
Oh,
me
yeah.
that my son drew a bad picture or whatever, and then he got into trouble and all this stuff after I had said that he was having a hard time. His cousin got diagnosed again. I gave him all these nuances that were happening in our life. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden he gets in trouble for virtually nothing. And anyway, his teacher wasn't there that day. It was a fill-in teacher. So anyway, I went through the whole thing of if a new teacher comes along, then they need to be
Oh,
flagged as to
important.
what's
Yeah.
happening with the children because someone could be going through a severe breakup with
Yeah,
violence or
absolutely.
whatever. Like, where is the communication? What am I paying for? He's going to a Catholic school, right? And so it's all these things. And then I got told, like, oh, you ruffled a few feathers. And I was like, good, I'm making them do their job. Because what
Exactly.
do they expect? That everything's going to be on autopilot and everyone just has to conform. No, I'm not a conformist. Like, we're
Yep.
rebels. We're rebels. And this is where it's hard because we're rebels by nature. We have a lot of, what's that, like yin and yang? We have that lot of doing energy, that action taking energy, because it's for survival. We've had to, as people, survive through lots of different things. So then when
Correct.
you come into this environment where there isn't anything really happening, they're like, what's wrong with
Yep.
this chick?
Yep.
She's just doing the groceries and she looks like she wants
Yep.
to
Yep.
kill somebody.
Exactly.
So what was then, you come there and you got married and then your first marriage ends. What happens then? You've developed some friends and you've got a job, but how does that then get affected just where you're at
Oh,
that stage in your life?
oh my gosh. So much got affected by that. So I went back to college actually when my son was 18 months old. I worked a full-time job. I went back to college at night and I was taking care of an 18-month-old baby. Did it all because I was like, I can't make money. I have a child. I need to figure it out. This is not happening. This is not working. So I always say I don't remember 2 years of my life because I was like autopilot just doing, right? And so I got a job. So it was pretty good, pretty well paid job in education. And then after that, in my first year, I told my mom, I was like, I can't stay in this marriage anymore. I can't do this. And my mom, of course, being a mom, wait until you're off a probation period. I was like, I can't wait. I am done. I'm done. I can't live with this man anymore. I've survived for so long. And I have to admit, I did stay in a relationship because I had nowhere else to go. I have no family there. I got nothing. So I stayed in a relationship because of that too. And no money, nothing. So first opportunity of money, I was like, okay, that's it. I finally saved, I can leave. And then I did that. And it was very stressful because I had nobody here. I had nobody to help me with lawyers. I had nobody to help me with what's going on. I had friends, don't get me wrong, but it's not same for them because they're American. And then it is for me. I'm like, I don't even understand this law. I don't understand what's happening. I don't know. I don't even know what's going on, especially when you're with a child that gets so complicated, right? And then my ex-husband decided that he will not let my son go to Croatia or anywhere outside of the country. So there was a lot of stories behind that because he was afraid I'm going to kidnap him or whatever because I'm from a different nationality. So those are the things you don't even think about. Why would a person even go there with their brain? And it became very interesting. And then I met my second husband, who's an immigrant and understands me completely on that level. So it's a completely different story. And my son was around 5 years old around that time. But I still struggle with all of that. And I still struggle with, I'm an expert at American family law.
You
I
could
am
be a
like,
lawyer. You're a qualified
I
family.
could totally
Yep.
be a lawyer with all of that.
Yeah,
But it took,
inquiries, Tamara,
yeah,
whoever's getting a
exactly.
divorce
Ask me
right
all
now.
about family law and divorce. But it was very interesting that it took me 3 lawyers. I changed 3 lawyers to find one that was really valuable, which I don't know if that's normal or not. I can't claim because I didn't ask. But from how people were commenting on it, not pretty normal, because every lawyer that I got had this preconceptions about immigrants. So every time he would say kidnapping, they would say, we can understand what he's coming from. I said, no, I got no criminal record. I have a decent job. I am a mom. I took care of this child. I'm just visiting my family. And also, if I want to travel, that's where I'm going. And if I want to go to Germany, I'm going to go to Germany. Why can't I go to Germany? I'm from
Wow.
Europe. I can
Wow.
travel places. But they all had this thing of, we can understand him, until I found this guy, love him to death. He worked with a lot of immigrants, and he said, he just looked at me and he said, don't worry, we'll handle this because I understand that. I was like, and this is why I
Love
hired
the
him.
energy. Love
Yeah,
the energy. You know why? Because where we come from in those countries, professionals are professionals. And I know people
correct.
harp on that there's a lot of corruption. Yes, I'm not ignoring that element. Two truths can be true at
Yeah,
once. But they're also people are very good at their jobs and very good at what they do. Like doctors, specialists, child
yeah,
specialists, lawyers,
correct.
anything. They're very,
Correct.
very knowledgeable. They don't have 5 different careers. So they're very
Yeah.
honed in on that one skill. Whereas I find here, I don't know. I don't know. The character of people is very different, and you do have to do a lot of shopping around.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you're looking even just for a general practitioner, like doctor, you
Oh
have to
my
do
gosh.
so much shopping around. When you're
I
looking
was
for a
not aware of
gynecologist,
that.
it's not just, oh, I'm going to a gynecologist. Great. Okay, cool. I just go to my neighborhood and
Correct.
no, it's
Correct.
like it's a whole thing. And this is again where culture comes in, where it's so important that, yeah, like you said, they have that negative connotation towards the fact that you're a foreigner. And even though we've been here for 27 years, people still can't figure me out.
Oh, absolutely not.
it's like they either think they have figured me out or they don't, they're trying to figure me out
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's
Don't
like
even
an
let me start.
enigma.
Don't even let me start on doctors. So when I was pregnant with my son, oh my God, so many cultural differences there. First of all, how we're taking care of our bodies, how we're taking care of the unborn baby. They wanted to vaccinate me in pregnancy. I was like, no, you're not touching me with that needle. And they're like, that is a regular procedure in America. I said, in Europe, you don't do that because you don't know how that affects an unborn baby, and nobody will do that. I even called my mom. She called the nurse. She called the doctor. Everybody said no. And so I told them no. And they said, and then America is all about lawsuits and whatever. Are you going to say no to this? You got to sign a piece of paper. I was like, I'm going to sign any piece of paper. I ain't doing this. And there were so many things in there where I was like, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. And then after birth, we have the whole family takes care of it. The whole family helps. They got nobody. I feel so sorry for women here that they don't have nurses coming to their houses, like these specialized women from the hospital coming in to check on the mom, help the mom, and all these different things in the first month, right? Take care of the mom, essentially, and helping her heal. They got nothing like that here. And then all of a sudden I realized, I was like, I feel so sorry for mothers here not experiencing the beauty of all of that, the village kind of taking care of it.
Did you
And that
have
was
your mum come? Did you have your mum come and help you?
she came about, I think my son was about a month and a half old. She couldn't come before that because of her job. And then she stayed for, I think, a month and a half or 2 months. So she stayed for a while, right? The
Yeah.
summertime. And I was just like, and then my mom laughed her pants up because women in America only get 6 to 8 weeks paid maternity and sometimes unpaid, depending how much you collect, which is ridiculous. In Europe, 1 year paid, right? And then my mom was laughing. Totally funny story. Maybe viewers won't like it. But you know how you buy breast pumps? Total Croatian mom. She's, what the heck is that? And I was like, oh, it's a breast pump. Like,
Milk my
take the milk
kids,
out.
mum.
And my mom is like, it sounds like a milking cow. Let me take a picture. Let me take a picture. She took a picture, sent it to the whole family, and said, they're milking my daughter.
all natural, all organic. Hey, that's nothing. I had cabbage on my tits, man, because my tits
Oh
were
no, I
getting.
get that too.
My
My mom was like,
husband went to the Arabic fruit shop, which is open 24/7, thank God, down the road. And he went in the middle of the night and I said, I think I'm getting an infection. It's really hard. There's a clot, whatever. So you got to,
"Yep,
Mama's
get
like, you need
cabbage."
kupus. You have to go get kupus. And Andrew's like, what? I said, go get me the cabbage, man. And then he had to break it all apart. It's 2 a.m. Breaks it all apart, sticks some in the freezer because it's going to be really cold or the fridge or whatever. And then I stick it on my tits, and then it absorbed all the heat out, which
All
was
the heat, yeah.
amazing. And then I had to keep doing it. So my husband just became this cabbage dealer, and I got cabbage inside my bra, and all my bra stank like cabbage. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? You can't take the village out of the girl. Like you can
No,
take the
no,
girl
you
out of the
cannot.
village.
I
But you
mean, okay, total disclosure too. Americans were total shock. My son has a fever. First thing I do, okay, apple cider vinegar, potatoes on the feet, potatoes on the forehead. And these Americans, we have Tylenol. I said, no, not good for your body. Potatoes on the feet, potatoes on the forehead with some apple cider vinegar takes it all out. And it got so bad between me and his family at that time that they called my mom on the phone to say, she doesn't want to give Tylenol. Can you reason with her? Is she doing potatoes and apple cider vinegar? And they're
oh
like, yeah,
my,
my mom is good. Thank God. She knows what she's doing. What do you want?
wow, wow. That,
Yeah.
you know what's crazy? People think that our culture is intrusive. But my parents would never tell me something. They trust me that I know what's best for my kid. My mom would be
Correct.
like, Ivana, yes,
Yeah.
more. Did you check his tent? Did you eat the doctor? Or she did a
Yeah,
little bit
it's
more.
the basic
Like,
stuff. But when it
like
comes to making decisions, that is my child,
they're,
not
they're
her
very,
child.
yeah, very not intrusive in that sense when it comes to like our
Yeah.
marriage or what we're doing, not doing, or for the kids. I trust that they really have this inner trust and knowing that we're just doing a really good job and the kids are secure and
Yep.
safe,
Yep.
happy. So it's funny how we perceive Balkan culture to be intrusive, but yet you've got an American family, no ounce of foreignness whatsoever, or ringing someone's mother,
Mhm.
overseas saying, can you convince your daughter, aka doesn't know what she's doing, to
Yep.
give your grandson Panadol or,
Yep.
aspirin or
Yeah.
whatever. So essentially saying we don't trust her, she doesn't know what she's doing. And ringing that
Basically.
is overstepping every single
Oh, that is
boundary
overstepping on
that
so
you
many
could ever
things.
think
Yeah.
of, and that's coming from a non-foreign family.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
trying to say?
Mhm.
If that family was Chinese or I don't know, Turkish or whatever, then you could be like, oh, okay, they're just sticky beaks, they stick their noses and everything. But
Yep.
when you've
Yep.
got an all-out American white family stepping over that boundary, you go, oh my God. And they talk about boundaries. Therapy is all about
Oh, no.
boundaries and this whole,
Yeah.
like, it's
No, no,
so
no. They're
interesting.
not very good with boundaries. I have learned that our people are amazing at boundaries and that here boundaries are very blurry. At least like when we compare, and even my husband told me, he goes me love. He goes, love, if anybody ever taught me anything in life is you with boundaries. He goes, your people are amazing at that. There's very clear lines between who's who at what point, what can I cross, what can I not cross.
Mm.
And then he's coming from Chinese, Malaysian culture to American culture. He was said in his culture, boundaries are very blurry. And then Americans are the same. So when he met me, where I was like, oh no, no, you can't cross that. You can't cross
Mm.
this. And then he at first gets taken back by it, but then he starts thinking about it. He's actually, that's very healthy. It's very
Mm.
healthy that you don't want to go. You just say no. You don't want to do this. You just say no. You're not allowed to enter my space because I don't like you. We're good. Just go in your space and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. I don't know. All this new age stuff I'm seeing, and there's quite a lot of Balkan content I'm seeing. Quite obviously, because
Yeah.
through the podcast page, that's what the algorithm is showing. But then also through my personal page, it's a bit of a mix. But I'm seeing just a lot of trigger words, a lot of trauma, Balkan, so many nuances within all of that. I can't say. I only speak from my lived experience, you speaking from your lived experience. But I know that for a fact my sister would never, she's always, I love you, I'm here for you, whatever you need. She would never, even with my little brother, if I want to say something, I tend to hold back a bit because I don't want to upset
Yeah.
him. And we really care for each other in that
We
sense. Like
really care.
our
Yeah.
love overrides being right, if that
Exactly.
makes
And that's
sense.
that's something that people don't understand is our love for our family always overrides whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. Because to us, in the end, it doesn't matter. As long as the person that's in our family is happy and content, we are content. And we always respect their choice. We will express our opinions about the subject. And for example, if you marry a husband that your mom doesn't approve, your mom will say, hey, I don't approve it, but I respect it. So you will never, ever notice that the mom does not like that person because she loves you so much that she's not going to overstep that boundary.
Yeah, 'cause she doesn't want to lose her daughter,
Yep,
or she
yeah,
doesn't want to
yep.
lose her son or
Mhm,
whatever. So that,
mhm.
that's even my parents for so many years. They were like, because I've got two brothers, they would never say anything negative about their partners or our part or anything like that. And my dad's always, I scored the jackpot with my son-in-laws. He loves them
Mhm.
so much. And he's always in photos hugging them. And they would drop him off to painting jobs because he was a painter, but he had an
Oh,
accident. He
that's
couldn't
so
drive.
nice.
So they will drive him. We'll drive your dad. There was just
Mm,
this beautiful respect that
yeah,
they're just one of their children now, essentially. But how
yeah.
was that for you then? You go from being in this American family where they're telling you kidnapping your own child, which is just absurd to me. But then again, America is the place for absurdity. And then you go from being married to being a foreigner, being married, becoming a new mum, getting a job, all these things, studying in college, and then you're single. You're by yourself. What is that? How long until you meet your husband now? How dating? Like how? Take me through that.
Honestly, to be completely honest, it wasn't that long. It was like 6 months.
Oh, nice.
It happened by accident.
You're on fire.
Exactly, like, call it an accident. I think it was 6 or 8 months, and I went on a dating app. It's freaking Iowa. 2 immigrants meet each other, right? And he was like I was kinda like, "Okay, this is totally not okay to think," but I was like, "Malaysian? Okay." I was literally like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah. It was so different. It was so different to
Yeah,
what
and I
you
was like,
knew. Yeah.
"Okay, I was just with an American, now it's Malaysian." Also, like, I don't know how different that is, but he's kinda hot, so I'll just that's
So
go on
go with
it.
it.
That's okay, I'll just roll with it, right? And then he was kinda like, "Huh, Croatian?" And his parents went to Croatia before we even met, so he knows where that is, right? And he's, "Okay, I'll go with it. That's pretty interesting because American woman crazy to him." He was married before to an American and dated another American woman, so his opinion, I better not share, right?
Yeah.
So,
We need to
like,
have
we
him
went
on the podcast.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
oh, you would love him. You should have him on a podcast. So we like, so our first date, total immigrants. I'm not even gonna, it's so funny. So I was kind of like, screw this, I'm just gonna be myself. So I come in and he always tells this story about differences in women. He goes, the way you came in, it was like a boss. Or you opened this door and you're like, with all the confidence in the world, you sit down and you say, Tamara, you're just
And
the
you put your
piano.
hand on the table, you put your feet on the table.
And then he knew Americans always 50-50. And then he goes, okay, this woman is European, so I have to pay the bill. I was like, good, thank God he knew, because
What a
if he
guy.
didn't pay the bill, oh boy, you know us with that. And so he covered the bill and he told me our first date was the most interesting thing he ever actually experienced, because he said, Americans, when they talk, they love talking about themselves. They will tell you every detail possible. He said, you spent with me the whole day. I knew nothing about you. You're talking, you're funny, you're great, you're smart, but I actually don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
And then he goes,
And that's the
and then,
intrigue. Got to go on a
yeah,
second
and
date.
then he goes, only a smart woman can do that, because she's so intriguing and talking and stuff. But then at the end of the day, he came home and he's, but I know nothing about this woman. How does that happen? And I was like, it's called Croatia. We can talk and say nothing.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. I think because we have so many cultural nuances and so much knowledge of the world that we can relate to so many different people and so many different
Yeah,
elements. So essentially, there's so much to talk about when you're with someone new, but you
yeah,
haven't actually really said anything. They don't know
yeah.
if you're vulnerable, if what's your favorite color, what's
Oh,
your favorite,
yeah,
like
and
nothing,
in our
nothing.
culture, it's not okay to say that on a first. It takes a while to get
Yeah.
to the point where I'm gonna tell you,
Yes,
"Okay,
because
this
it's
is
got
my
to be
thing."
earned. It's got to be
Yeah, it's gonna
earned.
be earned. Trust is earned. It's not
Uh,
given. It's never
no,
given.
no. And I think that, like, because I did a Ray Dalio, like, it was like a personality test. It's like, I don't know, heaps of questions. It's like a skills personality test. And it tells you if his trust is something you give, or you're a trust giver, or you're a trust earner, like in that sense. And yeah, I got Andrew to do his, I did mine, and I knew exactly how they would turn out. Same as love languages. Oh, I'm acts of service, very heavy on acts of service. We show, we don't just,
We don't talk.
so
Yeah.
that's right. It's like, I'm not going to give away everything, all of it. And I remember as well being on dates, like very standoffish and very, I wouldn't even, no, I'm not going to take a drink from you. Are you serious? You're a fucking stranger. Like, hello,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
drink.
Oh, I
Like,
remember that.
they're like very bitchy in a sense. Very
Oh,
like,
yeah, very bitchy. I remember, like, in Croatia, you're in the club. Okay, our men know us that way, so they're not bothered by that. But
Yeah.
even in America, I went out to bars and a man would buy me a drink and I would just push the drink away, go, what the heck?
You think
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
buy me? with
Yeah,
one
you're
little
gonna
drink.
buy, or you think you're gonna buy me with this martini glass? And I would just push it away, look at the guy and go, no, thank you.
Yeah,
And I
plus
don't think
you.
that, oh yeah, I don't think that ever happens in the US with the attitude and with the, because the guys that would buy me drinks, they were like, oh my God, like she crazy. And I was like, yeah, walk away. What?
Do you know what my
Don't
mother-in-law said to me once? My mother-in-law, she's like strong Italian woman. I love her so much. And she said to me once, and she claims to me till this day, she goes, I don't think I said that. Did I really say that? And I'm like, yeah, you did. You know how like that generation of our parents is like, I don't think, did I say that really? I'm like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
remember
you
she
did.
said at the beginning, she goes, treat them mean, keep them keen. And she gave me a wink. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was a thing because I was, that's automatically me. That's my whole
Yeah.
personality. But I wasn't treating someone mean. I was just not giving away so willingly.
Willingly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, here, take me. Let's have sex on the first date. No, if I wanted to do that's because I want to do that, not because someone
Yeah.
else
Not
is,
because the man wants to do that or because
yeah,
that's cultural. It's because women in our country have a lot of choice there in a way that I'm controlling the situation. The man rarely controls that situation. So to
yeah,
me, when I came to American culture, yeah, American women have control, but it's a really different type of control than us. Like
yes,
we are very powerful, confident control, like ain't gonna happen, man, attitude. And they're very different that way.
yeah.
And yeah, and their men are very aggressive when they're hitting on a woman. And you know how that ends up in a country? The minute the man is aggressive, we're like, no way. I don't
Uh,
like aggressive. You can get away. There's
yeah.
nothing happening. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%. Oh, we will fight. We will fight.
we will
We will
fight you if you're aggressive. I'll fight you. No.
I'll beat you up. I used to take boxing classes or,
Yeah,
you're a
oh
strong
yeah, oh yeah.
runner or you're a
And you
sporty
know, I always laugh about that. I always say, a man, if your man wants to take me on, good luck with that.
Oh,
My
I always
microwave
can't
can
wait.
melt.
Like, I always have this thing where I'm like, I'm not looking for a fight, but low key, I'm looking for a fight.
I'm
Like,
yeah.
I'll say to my husband, I said to my little son once, it's so sad and funny. And I admit a lot of shit on this podcast. And then later on, I think, oh, did I divulge too much? That's the whole point of a podcast. You divulge too much. But his mummy, this kid, and I said, you want me to go get him? I'll go get him. And he's
Oh,
like looking at me and he's all confused. I said, no, buddy, I'll just have a chat with him. But mama, I said, oh, don't worry, I'll be getting people for you. And he's just
okay.
looking at me. I'm like, nobody, kid, anyone touches a finger
Oh
on
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
his mum, he goes, we don't hurt others. We don't. I said, no, buddy, you never throw the first punch. You don't provoke. You don't whatever.
Yeah,
But if
exactly.
someone comes for you, you
You
stick up
fight.
for yourself. And I got into trouble in high school because there was a girl provoking me and then she started hitting me. And there was a whole bunch of people there and she was calling me all sorts of racial slurs and names and whatever. And this was high school. And then I took off my hoop earrings like J-Lo, Jenny from the block. And all my friends skedaddled and ran away. And I was like, fuck this. I went to defend myself. And I got into trouble for that. Essentially, I got suspended for 1 to 2 weeks where I still had to go to school, but I was suspended and I was separated
Yeah.
from everybody. And every day I had to write down what I did wrong and admit that I did wrong and all this sort of stuff. And she was suspended, but she got to just hang out at home. She was like surfing every day, whatever, didn't care. So that showed me that we live in an unfair justice system in general where, you can't stand up for yourself. And I
Oh
try
no.
and teach my son. It's so hard teaching my son our ways, our cultural ways, our way, the
Correct.
mentality in general, what it is to be a good human, because it doesn't fit this narrative. It doesn't
Oh,
fit this
absolutely
mold.
not. And you know, my son totally went through what your son went through. And of course, I went full blown Croatian. He came home and said, this boy is constantly picking on me, whatever. And this is a complete story about different upbringings. My ex-husband, being American, told him, we don't say bad things. We don't throw punches. We don't do this. And he comes to me. And I was like, you know what? If you told him to stop 5
Yeah.
times in a row and the kid
Yeah.
doesn't stop and then he pushes you, you can throw a punch, man, because you
Yeah.
got to defend yourself. You got to
Yeah.
stand your ground. You got to,
Yes.
and then,
Yes.
and then guess what? The kid pushed him and my son absolutely went in there and just shoved him. And then I got a call from a principal office and they expected me to go, you can't do that. And I looked at him, I said, good job for defending yourself because he was bullied. Okay. And
Yeah.
again, that is my culture coming, because in my culture, they would not end up in such trouble. They would communicate with them. Don't get me wrong, like, and everything, but they would try to figure out, okay, exactly what happened there.
Yeah.
There would be no, oh, this kids hit each other all the time, especially
Yeah.
elementary level.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I was being a full blown Croatian mom and saying, good job. He's been bullying you for a long time.
Oh, my dad always told me the minute we came here, I think already as a foreigner, you're on the back foot. You're starting already on the back foot
You're already
compared to anyone
starting.
else. And you're starting out with a lot less money, a lot less social status, a lot less connections, just a lot less everything, language, whatever. So you're already lacking. But you're also winning in so many other degrees that other kids will never
Yes.
win at because you have this edge that other children will not have,
That
and
other
this grit
children
and
aren't.
this, perseverance, this resilience. And my dad was always like, "Nika nedai nasebe." Nika
Yep.
nedai nasebe. And those words always read like I was in an abusive relationship, and it was like, and then those words, that's what would ring through to me.
Yep.
They would echo those lessons from your grandparents or your parents. Nika nedai nasebe, Nika. You'd end up in a
Oh,
really
yeah, I
volatile
remember that.
situation, and you just
Yeah.
hear, which if anyone doesn't speak the languages, don't. It's like almost saying, don't let on yourself, don't let anybody.
Don't let on your yeah.
Yeah, but it's like just saying, always stick up for yourself, always stick up for
Yep.
yourself. You
Yep.
are your most prized possession. And if
Yep.
I'm not
You
here to
are your
protect
own
you,
you, and you have to protect yourself all the
correct,
time.
because my dad, I might not be there to be able to protect you or your sister, or your
Yep.
brother, or your
Mhm.
mom, or we might not be there in that at that time.
And the
Always,
lesson always came from our dads because they were always very concerned of, okay, I'm not going to be here forever. And especially if you're a girl, they were like, you got to be strong because you're a girl. And what if a man attacks you? You got to get those fists up. You got to do
yeah,
these things.
yeah.
And they raised us that way. And I'm quite grateful I was raised that way because it gives me so much resilience. It's insane. But,
100%. Well, look at all the stuff online, right? Obviously. So now you're married to this Chinese Malaysian man, and then obviously they have a very different culture, very different approach to, very similar, but also very different. I know when I started going to acupuncture and I was exposed to this Eastern Chinese world of yin and yang and energies and
mhm.
all this, and I started doing Qigong, and I really love their healing modalities. It's actually
Oh,
very,
yeah, I
yeah,
do them
it's
too.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
similar with the warm
Yeah.
food and feeding it the cabbage and all these things.
Yeah.
But what I found a lot of therapists were telling me, a lot of different modalities essentially was like, I have too much fire energy and it's actually hurting me and my gut and my like not being able to sleep. I'm also very just creative in general. So I have a lot of excitement firing. That's also because I never got to do a lot of things as a kid because we were in a war zone. So for me,
Correct.
I'm leaving out a lot of things that I was not able to do when I was younger. So now that I'm no longer in survival, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to do everything. That to someone else is, oh, you're doing too much. You need to slow down. That's why you can't sleep. That's why you got low iron. That's why
Yep.
this. Whereas, okay, there's a person who's not doing much and they have low iron too. So my fire was perceived in a way incorrectly. I don't know. So how do you grapple with that? Like bridging those things. Do you know what I mean? And then you're married to
I
like,
know exactly what you mean. I don't in a way anymore. I became this person that doesn't give a crap what other people think anymore. And I am very respectful, like when I met his family and stuff, and I'm very respectful of their culture and I appreciate their culture very much. But there also comes a point in your life where you're like, I want them to know my culture and me too. I feel like I'm always like putting myself in these positions where I'm constantly putting myself in a box. Because, and don't get me wrong, their culture is pretty much the same there about meeting the family and stuff like that. But when it comes to nuances of everyday conversation, this is where they're very different. And then I went to a Chinese doctor too and everything, and I keep a lot of humidity in my body. I have a lot of dampness, and that's where you're coming from. And it's really bad and all these different things. And I try to explain to them that fiery behavior is very acceptable where we're from. Actually, it's genetic too. We are very genetically fiery people and very emotional, very expressive, very into
we've had to be. We've had to be.
we had to be to survive war, to survive all these different things. You can't just be like, I'm just going to chill today. There's no chilling when you're going to school and the bombs are everywhere. There's no chilling for a while, right? And they don't understand that our mindset because of that is, you know what? I'm gonna leave the best that I can. And I survived so much. And like you, moving countries, me moving countries. And basically for the past 15 years of my life, I struggled to adjust. And then plus when we were kids, war and plus other post-war stuff with people with PTSD and stuff like that. And so all of us, I would say that whole generation plus our genetics is being from there because we're just raised that way. And I'm just like, no wonder, because fire keeps me alive. That passion and that resilience, that strength, that expression keeps me alive and it keeps who I am. And so when people tell me that's wrong, I'm just like, for you, for me, that's who I am. So we need to be accepting of other people's way of expression too.
But why do you think it's more accepted to be passive aggressive, but not fiery and passionate?
Honestly, I
It's
pondered
less
on that
threatening.
question.
It's less threatening.
It is less threatening, and it's more about passive aggressive is not expressive, right? Passive aggressive is literally insulting you while keeping a smile on your face. And why is that more acceptable? Because a lot of times people won't notice that you're passive aggressive towards somebody, and they'll be everybody's laughing. They know they're insulting each other. Don't get me wrong, but it's done in a way that people emotions don't rise in a way, and it's more gentler. Versus our way is I don't like you and I'm not going to be surrounded by you. And this is my space, my time, my this. I'm not going to live with somebody for specific reasons. I'm going to live with somebody because that's my space. Our directness to, I don't like it. I'm going to share my opinion. Whether you disagree or agree with it, that's on you. But this is what I think. And you have every right to disagree with my opinion, right?
Mm.
And I think the reason why that's not more acceptable is because people really don't know what to do with the information. They were never raised like us how to react when somebody's direct with you. And now we're not talking about somebody being rude to you. We know how to react to that. But when somebody's being direct with you, meaning they're telling you in a very polite way, taking into consideration your feelings that what you're doing is wrong or what you're wearing is wrong or this is just not how it's done, we don't take it as offensive. We take it as an advice or as another set of eyes. That doesn't mean we have to do it. And nobody in our culture expects you to do it, but they expect you to listen, kind of process it, and then you take it if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't need to. And nobody's going to get upset.
But a lot of
Because,
people get stuck on it though, because I
yeah,
have a lot of conversations with a lot of women, predominantly in Australia, America, Canada, in those sorts of places. There's listeners from everywhere, but predominantly in these westernized spaces. And a lot of them will say to me, oh, they see what I'm doing or what you're doing. And then they're like, oh, that's so inspiring. And you're so
correct,
outwardly, you're expressive and you're not afraid and you're confident. And they assume all
correct.
these things
I've
about you
heard that a
just
lot.
because
Yeah.
you're online, right? And they're like, oh, you must just be born like that. And then that's just that assumption, right? It's not like I had to become this person. I had to become like
Oh,
that. It wasn't
absolutely.
just,
You're not born with that.
But what they
Yeah.
will say to me, a lot of them who they weren't born overseas, they were born here. And I also see there's a difference in that. Like when you're born somewhere else as a foreigner, and then when you're born here, but your parents were
Yeah.
foreigners. So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a
Completely
big
different. Yeah.
distinction there. And then they'll say to me, oh, I've always really wanted to do my photography business, but my dad, mind you, this is a woman who's got 4 children, is in her mid-30s. And she'll be like, oh, but my dad doesn't think I'll ever make it, or it's not a profitable business or whatever. And I'm like, and you're going to just go by that. But then I do remember being like 16, let's say, and my dad being like, Nema kruha.
Do you care what your neighbor says about you? No. So what do you care about strangers? Do you know how much crap I get on Instagram? If somebody who is like that starts reading the comments that I get in there from many different people, and they're not nice comments, they're comments that if you read it, people will say you should be depressed about it. I read them and I laugh about them. Why do I laugh about them? Because I'm like, you don't even know me. You don't even know who I am, but you're assuming from what a 30 to 40-second clip who I am as a person and think that you can personally attack me. But if we meet in person, you could not say that to my face. And that is something that they need to realize. All these people online have this amazing confidence to say all this crap to you. But if you meet them in reality, none of them, I bet you none of them, 99% of them cannot say that to your face.
But what is
And
if
that
it's
is,
your family, like your
yeah,
mom?
well, when
Like,
it's your
Tamara, what are
family,
you
I would
doing?
say,
What are you saying? Or your
oh my
sister
God,
or your dad or
if it's my own personal family, there's boundaries there. It's all about how you set your boundaries. What are you okay with?
mm,
Because I ended up having a fashion degree. My dad, same as your dad, there's no bread in that. Are you nuts? You got to go there. And I was like, no, I'm doing it. No, I'm doing it. No, I'm doing it. Perfectly aware that might not bring bread, but it's something that I wanted to do for myself.
yeah.
If I listened to my dad, I would probably have a better paying job at the beginning, but would I be happier? No. So you have to think about yourself in that situation too. You're growing as a person. You're developing as a person. Your family looks at you, if they're not that involved, let's say, they look at you through the lens of who you used to be, not who you are right now. And when they say no, I always, and this is a lot of conversation, I tell my friends, I was like, when they say no, you say, why not? And just keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? And I always tell even my friends that always say, I can't say no, I can't say no, I can't do this, I can't do that. I was like, you can't say no to your friends? Start small. I'm going to be a friend where you can say no. I will text you and you know what? Tell me no and start practicing. Start practicing that no.
Mm.
Start practicing that oomph that we collected with years and years of experience and our culture raising us that way. That, you know what? I'm not going to conform into your reality because That is not my reality. My reality is me. And
Yeah.
that's what everybody needs to focus on themselves. Like you said, focus on your inward. Your family is not a reflection of you. That was when you were a child. Right now you are you, and they need to be accepting of who you've become. And if they want to get
Yeah.
to know you that well, then they
Yeah.
will be there.
100%. And taking a risk is better than taking no risk at all. And it sounds like in your life you've taken a lot of risks.
And I'm gonna
Being on
die with
your own,
glory. I always say.
but being on your own, getting divorced, going to
Right.
America, living in a small town, having a son, then separate, which in our culture is, oh my God, separation, big no-no, like you share a
Yeah.
child. So you've really broken a lot of ground. You've really, yeah, not conformed to the norm. And I haven't either. Yes, I've got married, I've got 2 kids, but like in so many other ways, I haven't conformed. But it is right what you said, that you can still love your dad, you can still love your mum, you can still love your siblings, but you can also hold your own truth, whatever that truth is for you. And you don't have to choose
Correct.
one or the other. And if it ever becomes a choice where you have to have one or the other, then I say choose you,
You choose you
because
because
eventually your parents will pass and people will pass.
and then you're gonna have too many regrets in your life because you didn't choose yourself. You're gonna end up in 80 years old and you're gonna say, I didn't do anything because I kept choosing other people except myself.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I really wanted to touch on that because that was, I have many conversations. I'm sure you do as well with your clients.
Oh yeah,
Just like
absolutely.
with those sort of interconnecting worlds of where we come from and where we're going.
Correct.
That's really, and I do, like we talked about Rafa. Shout out to Rafa. Rafa is actually a Raiko. He's Indonesian. He's got a melting pot of cultures. So shout out to him. I just had to, he's such a big supporter. He's been in our communities here on the Gold Coast, like what we just talked about before. He comes to every single Zavavan party, and he was just at that Svadba movie premiere as well with me and my friend. He brought treats and Smoky and Kiki, and he was so excited to have you on. He just can't wait. He was buzzing, and he wanted me to ask you a bunch of questions. And so it was love in the Balkan Asian connections. So you did mention that there's quite a lot of similarities there. When did something feel familiar with your Chinese Malaysian partner that you didn't expect? Is it the family loyalty, the closeness, food as love, hospitality? What were some similar threads there?
Oh my God, those there was many. One of the major similar threads was number one is food is love. That is a major one because, but we know that although we know that about Asians, know that all about food, but I think for him it was like he didn't know white people around are about food too, right? For me, it was, and this is so funny, talking with eating. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
So you know how we always have these sayings and idioms, and there's an idiom for everything you
yeah.
do. And the first time we talked about it, he was literally just spitting out idioms all the time. And I'm like, and then he was in shock because I understood the idiom, even though it's not technically like mine. I was like, oh, yeah, are you
Can you give
insulting me
us an
through your
example?
idiom?
Can you give us an example?
Let me think. Okay, when I don't listen in a fight, he will say, you can bring horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
And I was like, you are insulting me with your idiom, right?
Are you calling me a horse? Buckle up, partner. It's going to
Like,
be a wild ride.
those type of things, then eating together is really important for them and for us. That is a major thing. Every meal needs to be together where we're sharing it, we're doing things, sharing things in daily life was really important. And one thing that surprised me a lot is the way they're doing things. Like from you got a cold, slap potatoes on it. Like those type of things. I didn't think like because when you go to Germany or somewhere, people don't do that anymore. But then you have that you're in the family with somebody, you're like, you're getting hurt and they're like, yeah, slap cabbage on it, you'll be fine. But you're like, whoa, like that is like legit the connection there, like with the traditional medicine and all these different things. But there's also, of course, a lot of differences between us for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the basics of culture is there, which is
yeah.
the most important.
Which is the values. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And one of the questions that we had from the audience is, how do Balkan and Asian friendships work, and what does loyalty look like today to them?
Oh, that's a tough question. Friendships, I would say they're very different there. When it comes to friendships, they're different. When it comes to relationships, they're different. So if you are, let's say, Balkan as a friend with, let's say, Asian friends, they're different. Not that they're not loyal Asians, but they're more passive aggressive than Balkans are. So this is where we differ. Balkans are more loyal as friends than they are. but also Asians are not as direct. So I think that would bother Balkan people on the friendship level,
Mm.
right? Because they will be more laid back. Also, like, for example, I'll give an example what my husband always talks about. Let's say you're going out with a group of friends and one friend says, I'm not going out. All of a sudden, if they're Chinese Malaysians, they're going to all start dropping off. And in the end, you're going to get no friends at home. Now, if we are going out and one friend says, I'm not going, we're like, good for you, because we are. We're just going to go. We're not
Mm.
dependent on that somebody in a group says no, because we feel bad for the person if we don't show up. So we think more of the person and they think more of the group, what group
Yeah.
wants. We're more we think more of the individual that's going to be hurt in that situation. They think more of the harmony of the group. So this is where we're going to differ. So friendship sometimes will be hard, but it's also not unmanageable if we're understanding that part of
Yeah.
ourselves. So,
100%. And what is genuinely hard about loving someone from a different culture? And what's surprisingly easy?
oh my gosh, there's so many hard things I can't even start.
We should do 40 hard things about dating someone not
Exactly.
from your
I would say,
culture.
I would say number one, we don't speak our first language. So both of us. It's not just one speaks first language, but the other one does. It's like we're both communicating in English as a second language, which makes it 10 times harder than it should be for a human, I always say. Number two, communication is really difficult because you have to imagine I'm bringing nuances from Croatian communication. Like you said, we always look mad. We always yell. We're yellers. Okay. I have to tell the internet, I'm sorry, I'm a yeller. I don't look like that on my Instagram. I always look very calm when I'm talking, but in reality, I'm a yeller. And I yell at everything and everybody all the time, just the way we're kind of set together. They're not. So they're very different that way. They're aggressive in their own way, but much different aggression, right? In a fight, completely different aspects. So we are like fighters and aggressive. I remember first time I had a fight with my husband, I went full blown Croatian on him. And all this stuff. And he just went, whoa, I
Whoa,
can't do it.
did he
Man.
get the umbrella out?
Yeah, honestly, he was like in total shock, right? Because he never met a woman that's like in your face, ready to fight, has and then he even said, not just that, it's like we have very logical reasoning, our women do. So we're like half male, half female, and we fight you on the ground. We will go head to head with you. We don't stop until it's done, right? And he was like, I've never met women like that. There is no way, right? And those are like some of the things that you don't think about. But I don't know. I don't know how to say that. There's so many. But what are good things about that relationship is that we are on the same page most of the time. Most of the time when it comes to how we parent, even though he's a stepdad, but he parents very similar to me. So there's no friction about rules or behaviors or whatever. Both of our expectations are exactly the same. So that's really nice, right? Expectations in a relationship are the same. I help you, you help me. There's no, oh, I want to be by myself or I want to do by myself. It's very community-based relationships. So those are to me very important things because we grow up in a community where it's like we just help each other nonstop and we just do stuff. In Chinese are the same way. They will help you. They will literally go out of their way for you if they respect you and appreciate you. And if they're in a relationship with you, they're very gentlemen. Chinese people, like our men, they will hold the door. They will do all these different things, which, not a lot of men in the westernized world do too. So those are the type of things where you're like, oh, I feel like home, but I'm not home too.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, their demeanor is very nice, like
Yeah.
aura.
Yeah.
And it fits with that fiery energy because if you fight fire with fire,
Oh, it's
that
bad.
it just does nothing. And yeah, and I've been with fiery people before, man, and it just did not work for me.
Oh, no.
So
It
I
just,
think
it's
you
like
gotta
feeds off of each other. At that point, it's just, you need one person that's fiery, one that's more calm.
yes, 100%, 100%. And what would you tell Balkan women falling for someone from a totally different culture?
Oh, make sure I always say, make sure that your basic values are aligned. Because if your basic, like with my ex-husband, our basic values are not aligned, how we raise our children is completely different. And that is a huge issue. So you have to think about, are my basic values aligned with the culture they're coming from, and kind of have a conversation about that. If your basic values about how you're going to raise your family, how you're going to do day-to-day basics, it's not like that, relationship ain't going to work. That's going to fall apart eventually. And then one thing my mom always said, I'm going to tell this to all the ladies. My mom always said, never ever depend on a man. So if you're a woman, Don't ever put yourself in a position where you don't have your money, you don't have your backing or whatever. Not because I'm saying men are bad. I'm saying because as a woman, you never know what might happen in life. I'm not just saying you're going to get a divorce, but I'm saying he might get sick or something might happen and he can't
Mhm.
work and everything falls on you. What are you going to do if you're not working and stuff like that? So those are some of the cross cultural, but also taking a consideration. And I just had recently a reel on that. What is a cultural and what is a red flag? And I always tell women, don't excuse him on everything that and go, oh, it's just his culture. No, it's not. A person who is coming from a different culture and you tell them that it's hurtful to you, they will make an effort not to do that again, whether it is going against their culture or it's not, because
Mhm.
they care about you as a person. A red flag is somebody who you tell them, hey, I'm not okay with this. I understand this is your culture, but I'm totally not okay with this. If person is a red flag, they're going to say, I am who I am and you got to accept me. So there's no flexibility there. There's no, I say, be like the water, right? Because you are coming from a perspective of, I don't like a lot of stuff that you do by compromise. And it's
Mhm.
all about compromising. But if the person is unwilling to budge and unwilling to compromise and unwilling to change some aspects of themselves to help you understand their culture better, then that's not the person for you, to be
Yeah,
completely
100%.
honest.
100%. Yeah, if you're only celebrating that person's cultural things or their milestones or their cultural things, it's not a two-way relationship. Right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
it can't be, there's got to be some middle ground. And I remember my dad always saying to me, you got to marry a Christian man. You go, and I was like, I'm not marrying a Christian man. He's, oh, okay, just marry a Catholic guy. Make sure he's got the same religion as you. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, I live in Australia. Honestly, why'd you bring me here? You want me to take me back? I hate it here. Anyway, it's so confusing. It's just such a young teen and everything's just happening all at once. And you're just like, oh, my brain can't handle this. My prefrontal cortex is not developed yet to deal with so many kids. So then my dad's,
Exactly.
and I just remember thinking, God, this is all so confusing. And then I went for the complete opposite. I was dating a Persian guy who was born in Australia, Persian
Oh, of
parents. They
course.
used to sit and eat on the floor. They would eat rice. I got so sick of eating rice. I eventually ran away from home. That's an episode I have not recorded yet, but I was 16 and actually ran away from home. It was really, yeah, very traumatic. There was a lot of stuff that happened after. And with my parents, it's not something I'm proud of, but it's something I think worth noting because this is what happens to young
Correct.
people. When you're older, you act out in different ways versus when you're
Yeah.
younger. You don't know how to control those instincts yet. And I just remember, yeah, there was some common ground, but there wasn't. The way they served people, the way they spoke. I adapted very well into their culture, but they weren't really adapting much to my culture. And I find that happens
Correct.
often, like with our people from the Balkans. They adapt really well into other cultures, but other
Exactly. And
cultures don't adapt well to them.
exactly. And I will tell you, okay, full disclosure, I will tell you how I've learned that. And I adapted really well to the American side. I went to meet his family, my Chinese Malaysian side of the family. I adapted. I respected. I always do all these things. But none of them, which is really interesting, confined to me. And it was always me understanding them, me doing all it, because Balkan people are amazing at it. Europeans in general are really good at adapting to other culture. We're surrounded by 1 hour, you're in different culture, different language, different food.
Mhm.
We're complete chameleons when it comes to adapting to other culture and asking a lot of curiosity questions and all these different things, right? And learning and being willing to learn. But I have learned that when you leave Europe, people really don't adapt well to your culture, and neither do they want to adapt. It's the expectation is you adapt to them, which is not fair towards you. Just because I'm good at adapting doesn't mean that you shouldn't adapt
But
to
why
me
do you
on
think that
certain
is?
levels.
Why do you think that is? Is it because we haven't and it's not probably or mainstream? We're not in movies, we're not in music, we're not our people aren't really seeing. There'll be a whole movie and there'll be one foreign last name that sounds like ours with a ch. You know what I'm trying to say?
I
Is it
will tell
because we
you,
haven't broken through mainstream so that
I
it's
don't
a
think
lack of
so.
curiosity?
No, I don't think so. I have learned living and with his parents and then these Americans and stuff. It's not that. It's actually, and that is something a lot of like people on my channel talk about is thank you so much for representing us in a good light. We have this stigma. Slavs in general have a stigma that we are this uncultured, wild, whatever people everywhere in the world. There's a stigma because in every movie, Hollywood movie, the main villain is always a Russian guy, a Ukrainian guy, a Balkan guy. We're always these crazy villains that kill so many people. And then on top of it, add Balkan, which is a double whammy,
Mm.
right? And we're even considered the strongest of all Slavs. South Slavic are actually the strongest of all Slavs. And then you add that into the mix and people just already perceive you literally like you're coming in with a hatchet and you're just like, this is it. And then we do have that attitude. Don't get me wrong. To
Yeah,
them,
but Germans have that attitude too.
oh, Germans are
But
even
they're
worse than
very
us when it
but
comes to
they're
that
very well
attitude.
respected and people
Because
love German
Germany is
culture.
like, oh, the country of engineering and all. But because nobody understands and nobody knows the most scientific achievements and more scientific progression actually comes from scientists from our countries that work in their country, right? It's not from local people. And that a lot of, cultural things that they completely don't understand or they miss because of their misconceptions of we're the wild people. Okay, yeah, we're wild. I can't say that we're not.
But that's how they view Indigenous people as well. That's how they view, like here, there's a lot of New Zealanders because it's just right across the ditch. And a lot of Māori culture, which is the Indigenous people of New Zealand, the first settlers, they're viewed as, oh, they used to bite
Yeah.
people's heads off. They used to eat each other and things like that. So there's even this connotation from the white Australian, white New Zealander of how the Indigenous people are, that they're wild, that they, do you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? There's
Oh,
even
no,
a
I
lack of,
completely
there's even a
understand.
lack of recognition. And I would say it'd be the same in America with their Indigenous people in Canada. There's just a lack of recognition of the
Oh my
Indigenous
God,
people,
yes.
never
I mean,
alone us people, like from our lands. There's like a
correct.
lack of general
Correct.
recognition of Indigenous people from their land, never alone anybody coming from some sort of
Exactly.
faraway
Exactly.
land where no one ever made a song out of Croatia that was popular, or no one ever made a movie that was, but you know what I'm trying to say? They're never.
Yeah, but then everything is filmed in Croatia that nobody knows about. Everything was invented there. I mean, from the tie to electricity to torpedoes to I don't know what. They don't even know about it. And also, I think the stigma is too, which I experienced personally in US, is when they hear your accent. This is total accent discrimination. They automatically know you're Slavic, right? What that defaults to is men start offering money for you because you'll buy a bride online. So they have that already preset mindset that somebody bought me online and that it's their ability to buy me again. And that happened in many situations, even with my husband, where people are like, hey, I've been Googling Ukrainian women online and I'm wondering, how did you get your wife? And he's, are you freaking kidding me right now?
My wife got me. She just grabbed me.
No, yeah, there was an on a joke. Like he said, I got this wild chick for free. Do you want it? He turns it on a joke. Right? And then he even tells them, are you sure you want a Slavic wife? They're nuts. Okay. It's like he's totally flipping it on a joke, but they're not understanding it that way. Neither did they see it that way. And there's also a stigma about us Slavs being like very direct, and that directness is rude because they've never experienced that our directness is actually quite gentle if you know how to
It's
speak the
passion.
language.
Oh my God.
It's
Like
such passionate and
even
gentle
even Andrew, he
communicating.
was in this store and he heard all these people. He overheard all these people because he likes fishing and whatever. He's in this fishing shop and he overheard all these people talk Nash. A guy talking Nash. Or every time he goes somewhere, he hears people some connotation of. And when I say Nash, you can interpret that however
Yeah.
you want. So then he'd get chatting with them, or he'll say something. He feels really cheeky and confident sometimes, and I brought that confidence out in him. He wasn't always like that. I turned him into a monster. And now he just talks to everyone, whereas before he was really to himself. And so be careful what you wish for, ladies. But and then this guy would be like, oh, pričaš naš? And Andrew's, ne, ja sam Italian or whatever. And they're like, oh, how
Yeah.
come? And he's my wife's Croatian. They go, oh, I feel sorry for you, mate. Like,
Oh, yeah. They
they
literally
literally
my
say
husband
like,
too all the time.
yadan ti, you know? And
Yeah.
I talk to my sister all the time too. Like we chat a lot about this. And she's like, šta jadan? Šta jadan? He gets homemade meals cooked every day. He gets cleaned
Yup.
for, cooked for, looked after. Kab jadan. So what? He has to
Yep.
cut the grass. Or so what?
It's
He has
the
to pick up the
temper.
kids.
It's the temper. Croatian women don't budge. Croatian women are in your face. Croatian women don't accept no. They run the business. They control everything. Yeah.
But they almost
And
love
that's
it. They say it with this
I
notion
love
of
it.
you poor thing, but they're married to one as well, and they
They're
love
married
it.
to
You know.
Croatian. Yeah, they love it. They love every moment of it. So I
But
think
how
that's
does your son, him being a boy, and I've got a young man as well in my house, how does he deal with all those crossovers? Chinese, Malaysian,
Ooh.
American, Croatian. Do you speak Croatian with him? How do you keep those threads alive? The village, mothering, like how do you intersect all those through your
Oh my
son?
gosh,
Because
it is extremely difficult, especially the language part because he was completely fluent in our language until I moved out. And mind you, he's 5, and I'm the only one that speaks his language. Nobody else. So of course he lost it, unfortunately. And now his stepdad is Chinese Malaysia, so now he's picking up on Chinese, which I think it's more important, honestly, sometimes than our language because of worldly languages or whatever. But he's showing interest recently in our language. He's like, it's the alphabet, and he wants to know. That poor child, I always say, goes through so much. Why? Because I'm a Croatian mom. I yell. I torture you. I'm in your face. I'm going to be on your butt nonstop. And then I'm going to love you the most that I can. I'm going to be so
Mm.
passionate about loving you, but I'm also going to be mean to you. It's like a double-edged sword right there. And then he sees all these American moms. They're always so nice. The children can say no. The children can do all these different things. And then he goes home to a Croatian mom. Nah.
Yeah, buddy, put your
Totally.
bag away.
Yeah, like yelling at him. Why are you yelling at me all the time? And all these different, I was like, because I'm stressed out. And all these different things. Because you're not doing it on the first, like, how are you not doing it?
If
And then
everyone just did what they were supposed to do, there'd be zero yelling,
they would
guys.
be,
Like,
there would be a
just putting it out
piece of
there.
cake, piece of cake. Yeah. And let's talk about food here. I remember he came home crying. Why? Because Croatian, made him squid for lunch. And then he went to school, opened his lunchbox, and all the kids made fun of him. Ew, what is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? And then he was crying, but he loves squid, right? His mom, I can't do that. I was like, I want an American lunch. And now me, what is an American lunch? What is that? I don't know what that is. We eat healthy. We eat squid in school. We eat everything, right? And then it's peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's not lunch. That's like, and then I have to give in because I don't want him to stand out so much. So now he's eating school lunch, but then when he comes home, I'm like, you gotta eat Croatian food. You gotta eat this food. And the good part about having a Chinese Malaysian stepdad is not only he's experienced the European way, now he's experiencing Chinese Malaysian side of food, and he won't eat eggs without soy sauce now, which is really ridiculous.
Oh, man, and soy sauce. That's it. And then a hot dog bun or something like that.
Yeah,
Talking about.
it's so ridiculous, the combinations of it. You know what? The other day we went to a restaurant, and he's, what restaurant are we going? I was like, we're going to an Asian restaurant. Oh my God, noodles again. Totally knows what it is, complains about it all the time, but also loves it. And then what Chinese Malaysian do, it's really interesting. They train children, which we don't know about. This is one thing I learned from that. You can train a person to tolerate spicy. I thought you're just born with it. Not true. My husband trained me to tolerate spicy. Now I can eat more spicy than him. And actually, Asian food without spicy, not good to me. That's how bad it got.
Yeah.
And so now he's training Kieran to eat spicy. And Kieran, a lot of times, doesn't even notice how spicy it is. Oh, this is really good. And me and Cheng Xian are standing there looking like, oh,
Oh, that by the
No.
time he's 18, man, he's going to just be
Oh,
eating
yeah.
a hot pepper. He'll just be.
Oh, yeah. And the beauty of it is he went to Malaysia. He went to Dubai. He's traveling all over the world, experiencing all these different. He's going to be an amazing communicator like your children. Amazing at communicating with all these different people from all these, I said, backgrounds. And I was telling him, I said, your life is so amazing, much better than mine was because you get to experience so much. You get to travel to so many different places, like outside of your scope area, and understand people on so many different levels because you're there. But the bad side of it is, I don't know if your kids feel that way, it's like they have a feeling of not belonging. They're not 100% Croatian. They're not 100% American. And then when he goes to Croatia, he's not 100%. He can't be. And then he stays in America. He can't be 100% American. He's half me. So there's no way. So all these children have this sense of who am I and where do I belong? And I think that's their, as we say in our country, cross that they need to wear upon themselves of discovering that it really doesn't matter. You don't need to belong anywhere. You can
But
just.
they won't question it so much. I think we question so much and we are interpreting. So we are the bridges between the old world and the new world. And our children will never have to do that because they are
Correct.
going to be taking the fruits of our labor. Like all this labor we're putting
Correct.
in helping other people decode what all this means. And oh, my boyfriend's saying this, he comes from this. And we're helping people decode because we have so much intellect and info and all these things because we've lived it. And we've gone from one place to another place, not to holiday, to actually pitch a fucking tent.
Yep.
We've come,
Yep.
we brought the flag. Yep, that's where I'm going to be. And then we're there for 20 years. We're like good Samaritans. We're basically just taken what we know from over there and brought it here. And that's that. Whereas our kids are going to be like going to Dubai next week, going to Malaysia another week. They're just going to have this fluidity and this ease that I
Yep.
think doesn't come so easy to us.
Oh, it doesn't for us. It definitely doesn't come so easy. And I think that's the beauty of it. I've never seen an 11-year-old that survives a plane ride from Chicago to Dubai and goes there. Well, yeah, it comes out. If it was anybody else, they were like, oh my God, 16 hours on a plane. Are you crazy? But my kid is like, okay, where are we going? Where are we going today? Where are we going to? He's
Yeah.
so excited about exploring. And I said, they might not speak English. That's okay. We'll talk by hands. He's totally fluid that way. And
Yeah.
I look at him, I was like, I'm actually quite proud right now because he teaches me. I always say my son is my best teacher. He taught me
Mm.
so many things. He makes me a better person every day of my life. And even though he's a pain in my butt, but he's a good pain in my butt.
You want that pain in your butt because it keeps you accountable and it keeps you a certain way. Because I think my
Exactly.
children have made me less available for bullshit, less available for crap. They've made me
Exactly.
less available for a lot of shit that I was available for. So they've made me
Yep.
better in that way.
They made
And
me
I,
so, yeah,
yeah,
so much better
100%.
as a person.
And then you see
100%
their
better.
enthusiasm and you also then live their enthusiasm. You're like, oh, wow, I'm a little kid again. I get to be a little
When they
kid
do
through them.
things, like when they're into things right now, oh my God, I remember when I was like, that you're reliving your childhood on top
Yeah.
of that. And it's a mind blowing experience being a parent. And if you're not, that's okay too. But as a parent speaking, I never knew how much you can grow up in 1 year until I gave birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I don't even know pre 2018 who I was anymore. That person is not that
Yeah.
she's gone, but it's almost like
It's not me.
I came alive once. With the first, I came alive, but I self destructed also. It was a breakdown of my whole entire
Yeah.
identity. It's that they call it matrescence, which is like adolescence, but for mothers when they
Adolescence.
first.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the first kid, it breaks you, cracks you open. Who you thought you were, where you thought you're going. You're just like, oh my God, I'm this vulnerable piece of shit. It's just like here, like bleeding and like nipples are seeping. I got cabbage
Yeah.
on me. And you're like, what the, I'm breaking, I'm malfunctioning. But you actually realize that's actually the rise of you.
It's the
And all the
rise for
amazing things.
sure.
And with my daughter, I was scared to go again. They got a 6-year age gap. And I had quite a traumatic birth with him, and all these things happen as well in life and whatever, COVID. And then I just went for it again. I was like, I'm not going to let fear dictate any of my experiences. Is future me going to regret not doing it again? So I went on that horse and I was like, I'm doing it. And she came and it was honestly just such a peaceful experience. It was like exactly how you read about it or exactly how people talk about it. Oh, baby eats, sleeps,
About
shit.
the
So
second child.
I
Yeah.
never believed that. I was like, yeah, I didn't get someone with colic, with reflux, with allergies, with all this shit. And then I got the second, like eat, sleeps, just, and I was just like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. And having her, it's brought a different element as well, like having a little
Oh, she's a
girl.
girl for sure. Yeah.
And her fire, oh, mate, if she doesn't get what she wants, oh, you better fucking watch out. She'll chase.
Well, we have the word for it, right? Enot.
Oh, she has so much of that. Oh my, I don't even know how to say that in English, despite or on purpose. Or I have no,
No, you
I don't know how
cannot.
to
That
translate
is
that.
such a cultural word. You cannot describe that. I tried to explain it to my husband. What is Enot? He goes, that's spiteful. That is different. This is like a
Yeah.
whole nother level of crazy there. Like
Oh,
I
and it's
cannot describe it.
awesome. I love watching it. I love
Oh, I
watching it.
love
I'm
it.
just
I
like,
love it. Yeah.
oh, I love seeing these little people gunning for themselves and rooting for themselves. And even my son is such a good debater. Like he even said to my sister once, I'll give you an example, which I think is worth noting. He was talking to her and he's, Tete, please, auntie, can we have a bit more time on the Nintendo? They were gaming a lot more because of my nephew's cancer, and then he wasn't as
Yeah.
physically able to do things with Vito. And so they were gaming. That was their way of connecting. And then my sister device is down enough. We're like, boom, straight away. Boundaries and my little ones, Tete, please, well, please. And then he goes, look at him. He has cancer, Tete. This is all he has. Let him, leave him. This is
That is
like,
very good.
and then
That's
my
very
sister's, leave him. He's got nobody. He's here by himself, doesn't go to school. He's missing out. Let us play for 5 more minutes, Dad. And my sister's, wow, okay. And the shit comes and tells him, I'm laughing. I'm like, that's my kid.
No, that was very Croatian of it. The
Oh, you would love
Croatian
him.
kids can negotiate forever. Yeah.
He will conduct a whole interview with you. Oh, I'm going to actually get him to be sitting in this chair one day interviewing people because he just loves. He is like your son. Like you
that's
said, that
amazing.
enthusiasm, that excitement. It's just beautiful to see. And I want also people to understand how you came here to be, like in terms of playing in this space, cross-cultural coaching. How obviously you have a day job as well. Because I want to bring everything into context for people, because I think people see people online and then they just think it's this overnight success or whatever.
Oh,
But
absolutely not. Absolutely
nothing's overnight. It takes 10
No.
years to be an overnight success on average with whatever you're doing. So explain a little bit to people, about your work and how they can book you, how they can work with you. We figured out why it is what you do and why you do it and how good you are at it, understanding all those nuances. But yeah, explain to people what you do on a daily basis. And then this is also an additive that you bring to the community. And videos, you got to have a bit of confidence and a bit of balls to really go for it.
Oh,
And Yasmin just said before, is why don't you post a video about it? Yeah. But a lot of people remunerate on it. They think about it, but they don't actually do it. So what made you actually just want to do it?
I've been, first of all, I got a teaching degree, art education K through 12 in US. So I'm an educator. So that helps a lot, especially with coaching, because that's basically what you do. You're teaching people about certain things. And I've been doing that for 10 years. I told my husband, I'm ready for a transition and I don't see myself doing that until I retire and all these different things. And so I kept telling my husband, I just want to experience some other careers. I want to experience when you get to your 40s and you're like, I'm Angie, I'm on fire. I want to do something. I'm in my 40s. Oh, yeah. And so I talk, and then he's so funny because he's like, you could do like all these crazy things that you do. I was like, what crazy things do I do? He goes, people don't even know about what you do. And people don't know that I have a certification in empathic coaching. I have a certification in Reiki master. I have so many certifications, insane, right? That I've collected over the years and years. And I've been coaching people actually a really long time, just not publicly. And then also my fashion degree and then my art history and art major and stuff. So my whole life I've been actually surrounded by cultures, but just not in a way that I was until I moved here. It was more through ancient appreciation, through appreciation of architecture. And I was always fascinated by, oh, people in, I don't know, Germany in olden times did this. And then people in China did this. And my husband always jokes around when he met me. It's like talking to an Asian who knows these things. And I've never been to Asia until I met him. He's what the heck, like a white person. And to them, the West is the West. And then I had to teach him we're not the West because what you're talking about is America. And you're describing Americans. You're not describing us Europeans. We're not the same. And I think that's the biggest mistake Asians do is say, oh, the West. And then now he's educating his people saying the West is not the same. Believe me, they're not the same. Educating on what he learned through me. It's that we are very different from country to country. Plus, America is their own country. And I always tell them, it's like me telling you're like Chinese from China, but you're actually from Malaysia. No, they get so offended. So I'm like, same thing. You can't call us the West. Or not the same. And then so I talk a lot to my husband about, oh, in this culture, that culture, this culture, that culture. And then being an educator in a multicultural school, I'm constantly surrounded by immigrants. And I love my immigrant kids. They're amazing. I learned so much from them, right? And so I got home one day and my husband was like, why don't you talk about this online? And I went, what are you talking about? I was like, I educate, that's in prime. And then he goes, no, I'm being serious. Start posting this crap online because I think people will listen to you because you can help so many people. You went through hell to get what you're at and you can cut down 10 years of their life in just one thing. 6 week training. That's it. And that's 15 years of experience. And I was like, I never thought of it that way. Maybe I could do this. And then he knows, okay, since I've been little, I've been performing with my back. I was never afraid of the stage. I was like, stage kick, yeah, I'll do that. I never had stage fright. I never had any of this stuff. And so my husband's come on, do it. And I was like, okay. So I posted my first video, it exploded. And I went, okay, what just happened? I don't even know what's happening. Because see, I told you. And then I started doing it. And now I have a lot of clients where I'm actually helping and I'm phasing out of all these different things. And I'm just like, I didn't even know that like, I could do all these different things. And then my husband's, don't just do West to West. You need to do East to West. And I said, I know a lot about Eastern cultures. And then he goes, you don't know a lot. You even know the nuances. I mean, it's Eastern culture. So you can totally bridge that bridges as a white person. And you can help people communicate through corporations, through all these different things. And I just went, okay. And then I already worked with Asian clients before I even started this for about, I think it was 3 years. I started teaching English online to Asians. And that turned into me literally teaching them how to do business with white people because they were like, okay, how do I do small talk when I'm doing business? How do I sign a contract? How do I shake hands? Like, how do I publicly speak? And then I would look at their PowerPoint and I would go, oh my God, too much data. You're so Chinese. You can't have that. When somebody from America sees this, they're going to get bored in the first 2 slides. You have to have more momentum, more this, more that. And so I literally coached people culture for about 3 years until he told me to do that. And now I'm coaching full time.
So
literally bring
how
up
does
all
it
of that.
feel then to claim that whole coach? I'm a coach full time. I'm coaching because
It feels
because I was like you for years and years. I've been coaching people on. They're like, oh, Ivana, I don't know how to start, register a business name. How do you always start off just helping them with this other random thing, and then it turns
yeah.
into a whole life lesson about so many other things.
Yep.
And you're
It
like, oh my
does.
god,
It
holy
does.
shit! I'm like, yeah, legitimately coaching them, but I did that for so many years, and I actually never even realized it was coaching them. I thought it's
Yeah.
just being a good friend or being a good work partner or business associate or whatever. And then you actually get older and you're like that you are coaching someone. You know?
You're
Someone doesn't
constantly
get on a
coaching.
soccer field that accidentally coaches those soccer players. They're intentionally,
Yeah.
So how did it feel for you, like claiming that stuff? And this is
Honestly,
what I do now.
coming from an educational background, it wasn't that different, but it was very different. Why is it different? Because I'm claiming something for myself that's only mine. And coaching is basically, I take a lot of pride in helping all these individuals seamlessly communicating with each other because my experience is so much gets lost in translation. So much hurt can be made by not understanding intentions of people. And that's why I always say it's never intention. It's probably culture. Again, of course, there's
Yeah.
limitations with that too.
Yeah.
Mostly in everyday life in business, I really love. I just recently helped one client dating a Croatian woman talking about that. He was asking for all these advices, and we had only 1 hour session. And he was just like, "Oh my God, you're so right. That's how she thinks. That's how she behaves, and all these different things." And we ended the session with he was excited to go after her to do all this because he was telling me, "Oh, my American friends told me that I don't need to go after her. She'll come to me." I was like, "She Croatian? She ain't never coming to you."
Buddy, woo, you're gonna lose her.
She's
She's
like,
gonna
"You're
be on
gonna
that
lose her."
horse.
Yeah, and I was like, "There's no way. Like, Croatian women don't come to men. Men come to them." And he's Hispanic descent, so he's yeah, my culture's pretty similar, but American man said, "Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. You go after her no matter what. There's no way this woman's coming back." And he felt so good and so accomplished. We worked on other stuff too about his confidence and stuff like that. But it's an amazing to see that just 1 hour of my pain and gain can solve somebody's life in literally 60 minutes. And that is, I think that's my best reward. Or like when you're in a business meeting and let's say Korean person tries to communicate with somebody from our culture and our culture, they're like, yeah, like whole jokes that I'm like, you can't joke like that. And this person cannot. And then you
Yeah.
see the contracts go very seemingly that way. And there's no like, this side is offended, this side is offended, just because there is the translator there for those nuances. There is
Yeah.
a person there that can help you. And then in the end, they become friends. And sometimes those nuances don't matter in the end anymore because they're making those connections. And it's so beautiful to see somebody from China, like coming to the Balkan area and going, yeah, I'm from China, but I love this because you guys crazy like us and all these different
Yeah.
things. I think that's so much beauty. And even in language, like I speak Chinese. I learned my husband's language just to understand him better on that level because language plays a big part. And he speaks a lot of Croatian too. And speaking each other's languages, learning about each other on that level it makes me so happy. And I love languages. I speak so many. And we were European. We speak many languages.
Yeah.
But just being involved with different cultures and them teaching me about that, I so appreciate that. Learning all these traditions, all this history about them, and just those differences make me so happy.
I
Even though
think
it's
you're really good at inserting yourself in all these like places and nuances and all that, which not it's a skill. It's a skill set. It really is that you're either born with or that you cultivate over time. Or a bit of both, really, nature
I
and
think it's a
nurture.
bit of both.
Bit of
Like
both,
I
you
would
know.
say, like I was born without a fear on a stage, but I also cultivated so many things over time. So I just combined them both, and that's how it ended
That's
up.
right. Yeah. Like your life forces you in certain directions as well. And then it's all about how you respond. And I think you've responded in the best way you know how. And I think that fight is just so important because that fight is essentially just a fight to stay alive, like
Oh,
just a fight for your
absolutely.
life. And then if you don't fight for yourself, no one else will. And
No
that's, I
one,
think,
no one will come after you. No one will come
nah,
for you. And I was, and in your country, it's very easy to fight for yourself. In a different environment where people perceive you differently and where there's little understanding about who you are, where you're coming from, that fight becomes exceptionally hard.
yeah.
And I am so grateful that I've moved to America, outside of my home, outside of my country, and have this. very difficult but amazing experience that I have put myself out there. It made me grow so much as a person. I completely understand. I don't get offended as much anymore because I'm like, oh, maybe people didn't think that way. It's it changes you tremendously as a
Yeah.
person. And now that I always tell my husband, I'm ready now after 15 years of America, I'm ready to go to Asia and live in Asia for 2 or 3 years or go to Australia, go somewhere to experience some new culture and some new nuances there where it excites me, right? Because now I'm not coming from when I was 26. I'm coming as a
Yeah.
40-year-old woman with 15 years of cross-cultural backing with a lot of strength and a
Yeah.
lot of
And you're
like,
building out a business and you're building out a business around it. And I
yep.
think it's so beautiful because I want more people to, that's where this podcast is it's a cross cultural identity, business, motherhood. It's a bit of everything because I try to make it about one thing, but I'm like, I can't, it's not
You
me.
can't.
We're
Yeah,
not just
no.
one thing anyway. As mothers, we're so many different things
Oh,
to so many
absolutely.
different people. And I wanted to bring that on where I'm not just having, I don't mind having an average Croatian woman on she doesn't have to be doing anything. She's just
Oh,
fabulous and
absolutely not.
beautiful.
It's perfectly fine.
But I do having someone on who has so many layers and so many nuances and has been through so much stuff because that's representative more of us outsiders who are living in Australia, who are living in
I
Canada, you
always
know?
laugh, I became diaspora. Diaspora. And
Yeah.
okay, a little bit about our people, and that would be beautiful to say about all of us. We were all at war at one point. And what's the most amazing experience that I did not expect to have is the minute we leave our countries, we stick together like glue.
Yeah.
There's no more, oh, he's Serbian, oh, he's Croatian, oh, he's Bosnian, he's this, he's that. It doesn't matter anymore. If anything, if I see Serbian, I get extremely excited about seeing us. And Serbian gets extremely excited about seeing Bosnian and Croatian. And we tremendously help each other. And then I always tell them, I was like, it's so amazing to see all these people. We were at war. I survived war. You survived war. We were all at war. And then now we're out. We're friends. And it's not been that long. It's been 30 years, right? So it's not that long of a time. And we're just financially supporting each other. We are business supporting each other. We are mentally there for each other. You go to, like you said, you go to grocery store and it's just like everything is amazing. And people talk to each other. You need something, you know who to call. They're going to be there for you. And that's because they understand we are not in our land and we just help each other.
Oh,
And that's okay.
100%. And I think it's also that we're not on that territory anymore. We're somewhere else. And that somewhere else doesn't care about our differences.
No,
The average
no.
Aussie is, oh, yeah, you'll say Croatian or Serbian. They're like, oh, is that the same or Bosnian? Because to them, everything's the same, like what you
Yeah,
said with the
yeah.
Asians. Oh, it's all Western, everyone's Western. So to them, those nuances don't exist really. And I know a lot of people get sensitive. I've also had a tiny bit of back. In the last 4 years I've been podcasting, only a fraction of criticism, which was somebody posting online recently. I did an episode on it and called it out because like what you said, you wouldn't shit on someone's front lawn. You wouldn't, if you saw someone in person, you wouldn't talk to them like that. So then why talk to them like that on the internet when they're actually trying to culminate something great? And I had a comedian on, Adriana Ramic. She's from America. And she's Bosnian background and everything. And she just talks a lot about Balkan diaspora in general, everybody. And yeah, this person made it a thing to comment, oh, how disappointing to see that you have had someone on your podcast who's trashing Serbians in her comedy, which mind you, she trashes everybody, right?
Yeah.
She's doing comedy. That's the funny part. You laugh
That's
about it
the
because
point is
that's
taking
like the
all those
whole,
nuances and
that's
then
the whole
twisting
point.
and
And then
turning.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Anyway, she's doing her own thing. She's her own agent. I'm not in charge of anybody. I like her, what she brings. So therefore I brought her to my
Yeah.
podcast. And anyway, this person made it the thing, or perhaps disappointed to see with the caliber of, and then or perhaps you should change your name, podcast name, to not be Balkan anymore. Because what I was like, usually I would just let it go. You know what I mean? The old me would just be like, whatever, bro, I don't have energy. I'm getting up to a baby, breastfeeding, whatever. Just let it slide. But this time I was like, fuck that shit. Fuck not not on my page. Not at my house, not on my watch. I just went to town and recorded a whole episode on it. And everyone was like, oh, good on you. That was so awesome. I'm so glad you did that, whatever.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Because it was like, no, I will not have that in my house, in my life, within my energy field.
No,
and I was like,
no.
why don't you start your own podcast? They're like, oh, I'm so shocked at your response, the way you've responded. Because it's like,
Start your own,
I'm
yeah, just
nice.
start
Like,
your own
I'm
podcast.
nice. I'm nice, but I'm not an idiot. I'm nice
Yeah.
and I'm friendly, but I'm not an idiot. You know what I mean? Just because I am friendly, it doesn't make me stupid. You're
Correct.
basically insulting me and what I'm doing. And I'm doing this for free. There's no monetary gain here. And no one's paying me
Yep.
to say something or have that, but that guest didn't pay to come on. You know what I mean? I'm doing
Yep.
this out of love, to create something better outside myself. And I was like, start your own podcast. They're like, oh no, I don't like the sound of my own voice. And I was like, wow, that says a lot.
Exactly.
And it's if you don't like what someone's doing or someone's saying, go off and start your own thing. It's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. Just fuck right off.
Yep.
I don't know. Just I wasn't even disheartened. I was just mad. The old me would have got so hurt and be like, "Oh, I'm going to record something now for weeks. I'm so wounded." But I was like, "Nah." There's a lot of, and I think a lot of people will empathize with this. There is a lot of negativity within our communities in the diaspora, in Sydney,
Oh,
in Melbourne,
absolutely.
in Chicago, like everywhere. But it's also if you're a miserable person, you're going to create misery everywhere. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be who I am. And if my light is
Exactly.
bothering
You know,
you,
and I also said that I don't care whether you're Serbian, you're Bosnian, or whatever. We're all in the same pot, and our culture's not 100% the same, but close enough that we can completely have 100% understanding of each other without even needing translating. And it feels, for example, last weekend I was with Serbians. The whole party was Serbian. This weekend I'm going to Chicago among Serbians again, and it's so amazing. You go in there, bre, like, and you
yeah,
hear that Serbian language, and you're like, I love that. And because and they accept me as a Croatian too. They joke on Croatian account. I joke on Serbian account. It's
yeah,
a completely different feeling. And I think that we need to, like you and I, we survived war, we survived everything, but we decided that I'm not going to keep this, like you said when we talked. I decided, like you, I'm not going to keep this inside of my body. This is not my burden. This is my parents' burden because they grew up in communism. They did all of these different things, whatever. Yeah, we survived it. It was bad. We got trauma. That's fine. We survived it. Our trauma does not define us. But I decided, you know what? I don't want to be that miserable person that's judging everybody just because of the politics or anything like that. So I have Serbian friends, I have Bosnian friends, I have Croatian friends. I don't care. As long as you are a good human and we can understand each other, I really don't care what nationality you are because there's good Serbians, there's good Bosnians, and there's good Croatians. And that war happened. Yes, was it bad? Absolutely, it was one of the worst wars after World War II. We all know it. We survived it. Should we stay in it? Absolutely not. How are you going to heal if you're not moving on from that pain? And
yeah.
you just can't. You
And
just
the only way to reconcile it is to talk about it, is to have a really good Serbian friend, like the whole family. I'm friends with all of them. And she did her DNA and she's, oh my God, there's so many Croatian last names. And I was like, so how does
Yep.
it feel? She's like, I think I'm Croatian. And I said, it would feel better. And she's laughing and we're just laughing, both of us. Oh, you're an idiot. And I'm like, oh, and we were just, because then she's taking hits on me. And it's just this is the way you heal. You heal through
Yeah,
relationships, you heal through language, through conversations. You don't heal by
absolutely.
ignoring one another, by completely never,
Exactly.
no, I
Exactly.
can't talk to you now because you're Serbian. Whereas that person literally was born here, has nothing to do with Serbia whatsoever.
Even if that person was born in Serbia, I don't
Yeah,
have that thing with
yeah,
them because I'm
yeah.
like, that doesn't mean that they would do anything like that. That doesn't, and I love them as much as they love me, and I got nothing against them. And as long as they're good to me, I'm good to them. We're good. And because nobody can joke like our cultures, it's such dark
100%.
humor.
Oh,
Nobody can understand when we joke. It sounds like insults nonstop, but we understand it's a
it's
joke
so
and we just
hard for our
laugh about
partners
it.
to understand though, because when I took Andrew
Yeah,
to Boston and he met my family, like my cousin, they live in a village. And we were driving this old car with like the back is really long, like I know not a convertible, I don't even know what to call it, but and our suitcases are in there. And anyway, so like we're driving up this hill, it's all bumpy, no asphalt, nothing. It's all just dirt. And like we rock up to the front of their garage and the whole house up there with no rendering, like no facade, no fence, nothing, whatever. And it's welcome to Boston. My husband's first experience landing in Sarajevo. There's like these people walk around with guns and sideways facing hats. It's just, oh, what's going on? And then we rock up to my cousin's house and he gets out and he goes beep, beep, as in to joke around like the garage door's going to open, but he doesn't have a remote. I just start laughing because he knows we have comfort here. Everything's on a remote, everything's automatic,
They
gates.
just messing with it
And
because
he's
he's
like,
Australian.
and
Yeah.
then the whole time we were there, they're like joking around, or who saw and this, that entered a bar. A Bosnian Serbian
Yeah.
Croatian entered a bar. And then they're like telling me, joke, like, tell Andrew. And I got Andrew. Okay, so this Bosnian Serbian Croatian going to a bar. And this what happens. And I go, just fucking laugh, man. Like, just laugh. All right. And he starts laughing, but he doesn't get it.
No, no.
Because when you translate it to English language, it
It
loses
doesn't. It
the
sounds
nuance there.
so aggressive and so bad.
It sounds so sad or like
It sounds
aggressive
sad
or
because a lot of our jokes are very aggressive, very sad, very realistic. So it's very hard to
the
explain
music's
that.
sad, everything's sad.
Yeah,
But man, on that
everything's
beat,
sad.
when you hear the harmonica, you're just like, oh, the goosebumps.
Yeah, no, it's just so funny. Every time you hear that, you're just like, hold your heart, and it just starts pouring out. Where is Rakia? Give me Rakia.
And
So,
yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I think as I've gotten older, like what we've talked about, I'm really embracing that side because for so many years I wasn't embracing that side. Not that I was embarrassed about it because the Australians were Croatians have been coming here since the 1950s
oh
and
yeah,
Italians and whatever.
1950s, yeah.
So they've been exposed to so many foreign languages and people and they actually love it. They're like, oh man, can I come to your house for lunch? Can we come? They know that's where
Oh
the
yeah,
food's
because they
at.
know
They
the
know.
food. Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
want the invite. Like they're almost like fighting for it because they know it's going to be a good wedding or a good party. Like they're so excited. Like even when for my daughter's christening, I had Lepa, she's a good friend of mine. She owns Burek on Wheels and Bubba's Milk, which you might
Ooh.
have seen on Instagram. And she's in Sydney and she drove her caddy, like her Volkswagen caddy, all the way from Sydney to here, which is like 11 hours. And she catered the whole thing for me, like for nothing,
Oh,
because I've done so much for her and she's doing so much for me.
yeah.
And this is our relationship, right?
This
And
so are
she
people.
put
Yeah.
on this spread, man. Like I got goosebumps. She put on this spread. And when my mother in law's friends saw that spread and they're Aussie, they just about fucking lost it. Like they were standing and mum was like, Sklo, reci im nek se sklone. Jesu dosad. Because mum's at the door. She's carrying through the pork. She's carrying through the cevapi, the kupus. And they're at the door and it's really annoying my mum. And everyone's in the kitchen. It's really annoying my mum. My mum's like ready to punch on with somebody. Even I tell them to get from the doorway. I can't get through. And they're
Yeah.
just standing there staring at the food. They're like drooling. Like they can't. And
Yeah.
when you saw their plates, like the amount of food they put on, it was like 5 mountains. It was like they would never eat ever again because they were so scared. There wasn't, and like their
Yeah,
food
yeah.
just kept coming. And they were just like, and then they also had containers because I bought takeaway containers. So then we
Oh, of
packaged your
course,
food
of
in
course.
cakes
Because
for
there's so much
containers.
food. Yeah.
And they're like, wow, this is the only place you come to where you just bring a bottle of wine or like a card
Then
and
you get
$50.
fed.
And then for my baby shower when I was pregnant with Valentina, everybody else gave me, which it doesn't matter. I don't care what people give. It's not about money, whatever. But this is what people want to give for me to buy something. So it had been 6
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
I
yeah.
got rid of all the baby stuff. Everyone else gave like $100, $200, $300. And the Aussies, $30, $25, $25, 30 and a scratchy, you know, the things you scratch.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
husband was like, and then he's like, is this a joke? Like they ate about $100 worth of food. They drank and ate about $100 worth of the value that they'd
Yep.
given $25. I'm like, whatever. And I just laughed. You just got to laugh because
gotta
you've got
laugh
to
at it.
you've got to embrace that you're going to have a combination of both.
Of
But it's
course, of course. Yeah.
when it happens, you laugh. But this is why I wanted to do this quick segment with you. I'm not going to go through all of it, but it's a bit of a culture game.
Okay.
You can answer Slavic, Asian, Australian, American, or all of them. So none of them are really, maybe it can be a combination of all of them, but you can maybe depict because you're so good at it, depicting cultures and nuances and all that. Let's play a fun culture game. And I'm going to just maybe go through a few because we're coming to the end of the segment, but you can then call out the culture from. Okay, so number one, I got to say, Promaya kills. Propuv kills.
Proper heels. That's ours.
That's right. So if anyone doesn't know, Promaya Propuv, it's like draft. But draft is actually a good way of putting it. But
Yeah, I
I'll
cannot
make it.
explain how the wind kills.
Can you do a video? Yeah, you did do a video. You said how to get rid of Balkan people, and you opened the window, and you got like
Yeah.
so many comments, and everybody
Oh,
loved
yeah.
it. You got
Because
so many
people are-
reshares.
People are laughing so hard because it's true.
Yes.
You just open windows and they're out.
Yes, but I think really go into detail about what Promaya means because so many people are here confused about it. So pamet u glavu. That's an
That's
obvious one.
ours.
Smarts in your brain, which is so
Smarts
funny
in
to
your
say
brain.
that.
Yeah.
You showed up to dinner without calling first.
Ooh, that would be Australian.
Yeah. Your mother called, you didn't answer. She texted your cousin.
Oh, that's a good one. That could be Chinese.
Yeah.
That could be Chinese.
Someone says no more to food.
Someone says sorry.
Someone says no more food. I don't want to eat anymore.
American.
Yeah. Someone asks, how are you? And actually wants to know.
Our people.
Someone says, I'm fine.
American.
Yeah, it's so popular, isn't it? The bill arrives and it's a slight battle begins.
That's Chinese and us. Cannot.
I want to record a person next time when I go with my friend to a cafe. I want to get my sneaky camera and just put it somewhere because the look on their faces, they're petrified. They're like, they don't understand what's going on.
Oh my God. When we start fighting with Americans in front of Americans, they were petrified. They were totally
Okay. Someone tells you a hard truth to your face immediately.
us. That's
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. And there was just, I could have just kept on going. Honestly, there were so many from the bill arriving to just,
Yep.
there's just so many nuances. But I love that your page is just full of that. I love that you're making a living from it, that you're creating income from it as well. I'm really heavy on that. For the women that are listening, are generally people who are trying to get over that bridge. That they love the
Mhm.
thing that they're doing, but they don't know quite how to do it. They don't know how to turn it into income. So they're feeling a little bit lost there. So that's why I love having women like you on, because you've managed to go over that threshold. And like what your husband says, you've developed 15 years of hardship to be able to know how to solve a problem within 10 minutes for somebody, or 15 or 20. And that's really a true gift. So Tamara, hvala ti. I really appreciate you being here. We talked about leaving home, what you were leaving behind. We've talked about landing somewhere completely new and being told you're too much when actually you're just fully yourself. We talked about love across cultures, about raising children between worlds, about the in-between place that many of us live in, but not enough talk about. And the thing you said about assimilation, about how you can adapt without disappearing. I think single women in this community really needed to hear this, because there's not enough conversations around this.
Oh, absolutely not.
Because a lot of the podcasts are male-centered, are for males, are by males.
Exactly. They're not
And when
women.
when I developed a podcast like 4 years ago, I looked online, I just typed in like Balkan something, and it was just politics came up,
Yep.
and one business sort of style podcast from the Netherlands, two business guys. It was just like a Balkan sort of, yeah. Well, I could relate a little bit, but I couldn't because they were
Yep.
boys and their
Mhm.
Balkan experience was very different to mine, being a girl.
Being a
So
girl,
that's what prompted me to start the podcast and to bring a female voice, a mother-led voice to the whole conversation, and to boost each other up as well, and not be like,
Exactly.
there's space for all of us. Not to be
Absolutely,
like, oh, look
absolutely,
what
yeah.
she's doing. Oh, good for her, but I'm different.
Oh,
Like,
no, I encourage everybody to just start and then see where it goes. But you might discover even when you start that you started one way and then it takes you the other way, and that's actually the better way.
yeah,
So, like, I would rather start and fail than going, "I never started."
yeah,
That's just
that's
my
it.
motto.
Yeah,
Yeah.
taking a risk is way better than taking no risk at all.
Taking no risk,
You
staying in
know,
your comfort zone.
and tell people where they can follow you, Tamara, where they can support your work, how they can connect with you, how they can work with you. Let people know where you are.
They can follow me on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube, and I'm on TikTok. So I'm all four platforms. Is it 4 or 5? I don't know how many I counted now. But my most where you're gonna see most comments and stuff is definitely Instagram. And then my handle for all of them is literally at Tamara Peklic, but
Can you
without the
spell out your last name just in
yeah.
case?
So it's PEK. I
Mhm.
put it without an accent in my name because there's no way people have keyboards with Croatian H's at the end.
It's okay. If you're in Australia, they just create the CH and it's
Yeah,
Tomic,
they do
but the
that with like a
CH. Yeah,
CH, and I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, that's not gonna work. But
yeah.
yeah. So it's literally my name, my first name and last name. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So like you said, you're on Instagram, there's even mini videos on YouTube. You do a US crash course. So I want people to go off and buy that as well.
And then
Tamara
there's
Peklic.
a little bit of a surprise. I'm actually making a Slavic crash course right now.
I love it. I love it. If you ever need research, I'm here just saying I'm your girl, but not that you need it. You've already
No,
been
no,
lived
I
it.
do need it. I was gonna say I absolutely love what you do, and I absolutely am so grateful that you took me in. I am particularly fond of helping women, knowing their situations and knowing how hard it is for them. So thank you so much for this.
Oh, I'll be your beta tester. I can be on the other end. I'll give you feedback. I'll be the little dummy. It's all good. But I want people to buy your courses. I want them to support you so that you can eventually leave your job and
Yep.
and just do this full time. And then maybe you can come visit me in Australia, go live in Malaysia. Just the world's your oyster. So
Yep.
and as well, LinkedIn as well. You're on there too. So yeah, people can literally look for you anywhere. It's all under your first and last name. But I really appreciate you being on. I hope people took little nuggets of gold throughout this podcast and just being a risk taker, being bold, being just backing yourself when no one else
Even
is backing you.
this is why I also want to say, even if you're not confident, taking that step builds confidence. So you have to at least take that first step, and
Yeah.
then confidence comes with it
Yeah.
eventually. But
Yes.
just making that first step, you're gonna see a change in you because you're gonna be like, you know what, this wasn't that bad. This wasn't that bad. So I'm just gonna make another step. And then
100%.
10 steps into that, you're going like, I got this. I kind of got this. I think I'm getting a hang of it. And then you're completely in it and you're not even aware that then you look back and you go, whoa, like
Yeah.
that's amazing.
100%. And that's the thing. You've just got to go. You've just got to take the next best step. And what got you here won't get you there. So sometimes you do need to do something a little bit different. Yeah,
Yep.
like what you said, you've been pretty much doing it, but just not publicly. And I
Yep.
think not being afraid to put yourself on the internet, it is awkward. It's awkward looking at yourself. You're like, oh my God, is that really what I look and sound like? Far out.
Oh, yeah.
It's confronting. It's confronting. But I just want for people to look at your experience, my other people's experiences, and be like, fuck, if they can do it, I can do it as well. If that's
And
what
I
you
always
want
say
to do.
that, like, I always take other people as an inspiration versus the competition, because there's so many like Eastern Europeans I follow. Where what is the name of this guy, Matt Budzinski or something like that, where he's like constantly making fun of the Slavic stuff. He's a
Yeah.
comedian, and I follow him, and I just laugh at his stuff. But he definitely has way more stuff happening and stuff. But I don't look at these people and go, oh, now I can't do this, can't do that. I was like, no, I'm gonna take inspiration from this because this is freaking amazing what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yes.
And there's so many people online doing many things. And when people tell you no social media, that don't get me wrong, I personally don't like social media for personal stuff because it's just me. I just don't do that. But then again, when I started this, I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna share all this personal stuff because I need people to see how I live and how I share these
I
things
love
and
it. I love it. I think
whatever my daily life is.
it brings context
Yeah.
because often
Yeah.
when I come across these pages, it seems a bit like I'm like, are they even a person? What is there
Yeah.
anything? Because they're just posting all these like sales or essentially like comments this word, and then you're like, oh, is this a bot or is this a real person or whatever? So
Yep.
when you actually bring context of this is my Malaysian Chinese husband. This how we cook together. This why you're like, oh, it brings context. And then I'm like
Yep.
more like wanting to then buy as well from that person because I'm like, oh, it's a
Yep.
real person. Because yeah, the internet has just become this very automatic
Especially
autopilot
with
place.
AI. Yeah.
100%. But definitely just want people to back you, support you. I believe in your mission. I believe you're gonna just grow and just keep on growing. And yeah, have a really good hair wash day when you quit your jobs. Like we said, you can flick your hair when you're leaving the school gates.
We have a saying for this. Let's do idioms. From your mouth to God's ears, right?
I love it. I love it. I love that. There you go. Whoever is listening to this episode will completely understand that. So
Yep.
thank you so much, Tamara. I appreciate you for being
You're
here.
welcome.
And until
Nemana
next
Chela.
time, my beautiful, lovely Balkan sisters, wherever you are, just appreciate your support and thank you for being here. We'll talk
Hvala,
soon.
hvala.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was the episode. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And as ever, if you did, please consider sharing it with your loved ones and leaving me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It really does make a difference to the number of Balkan sisters that we can reach with the brilliant wisdom that my guests and I share. Thanks for being here. I do viđenja.